Hey everybody, it's me, Timmy Flyersguy, reminding you to check out the lovely Jill Cassidy on YouTube. She is one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. So make sure you check out her YouTube channel and show her some love. If you don't know who Jill Cassidy is, then I will show you.
My time, my shine, they think I'm out of my mind. One chance, we own. Take another look, you know that we gone. Came from the ground and we crawling up. You can feel it in your fist when you balling up. Come on. The sky turns black, it don't matter. We know the sun is coming up. We were born to run.
Hey everybody, it's me, Timmy Flyersguy, and today's a day that we honor one of the best Philadelphia Flyers goalies. I'm not sure if today isn't the day, I apologize for that if I got the day wrong, but the important thing is that that it is November, and this is the month that we lost a great goaltender, and that goaltender was the late great Pelle Lindbergh, one of the best goaltending talents the Philadelphia Flyers have ever had. Pelle Lindbergh was a great man, a great goaltender. He was a nice guy. He had so much love in his heart for Flyers hockey, the people of Philly, and everyone in his life that taught him very well. Pelle Lindbergh was born in Sweden, came to Philly. He played for the Maine Mariners for a couple of years, and then he became a Philadelphia Flyer. In the 85 In the 84-85 season, the Flyers made the playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers. They were eliminated, and they lost the remainder of the series. But Pelle Lindbergh was the reason the Flyers were able to get to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Edmonton Oilers. His goaltending really helped the team become a great team. The day Pelle Lindbergh passed away was a day that really affected the city of Philadelphia and many Flyers fans, and also the hockey community, as well as Pelle Lindbergh he was a hero to many Flyers fans, and he was a damn right good guy and he cared about his teammates. And his teammates, they loved him so much that the passing of Pelle Lindbergh really hurt the city. And we haven't had a good goaltender since Pelle Lindbergh. But we do have maybe the one goaltender that could be the next Pelle Lindbergh. But in reality, there can only be one Pelle Lindbergh. So today's episode, we're going to take you back to November 7th of 1985. This is Pelle Lindbergh's last game as the Flyers take on the Chicago Blackhawks at the Spectrum. I hope you guys enjoy this game, and if anybody has any great stories about Pelle Lindbergh, please share them in the comment section below. Let's get into this game and let's roll the footage.
Left wing corner to McCrimmon. McCrimmon holds as this position is picked up at the far point by Ron Sutter, but the Hawks break out. Murray up on the left side. Fraser's going to try to turn Ron Sutter. Drops instead to Ben Wilson in front. Keith Brown scores. Keith Brown at 1:09 puts the Hawks on top at 1-0.
Chicago was in a line change. They were trying to get players off the ice, and Brown had just come out of the box. And the Flyers really paid little attention to him coming in late. It appeared he was taken up. Ben Wilson makes a real nice pass to Brown. Hits him perfectly right on the stick. He had lots of time. That quick shot beat Lindbergh to the glove side, and Chicago takes the quick lead here at the Spectrum. Keith Brown, the goal scorer, and it'll come at 1:09 of this first period.
For Brown, just his third game. For recent years, he's always been a problem with injuries. Third game, he picks up his first goal. Fraser and Ben Wilson picking up the assist, and it's 1-0 Chicago. Flyers, for the first time this year, failed to score the first goal of the game. This was unlucky 13. All right, Peter Zezel is out there now as the Flyers try to regain that tie when they get the jam up along the hash marks left circle. Bobby and Eddie, I remember a game here during the day of the Blackhawks when they scored twice in the first 33 seconds. John Mark scored at the 14-second mark and the 33-second mark. Flyers came back to get a 5-all tie in that one.
That's when they had to come back from about 3 or 4 goals in the third period to tie the game.
Also, Mark, it seemed whenever he played, he saved his best games for the Flyers. He did all his scoring against the Flyers.
Kept him in the league for an extra 3 years.
He did a good job, didn't he?
Zezel, Sinisalo, and Craven along with Howe and McCrimmon. And it's Darryl Sutter out with veteran Tom Lysiak and Ken Yaremchuk with Bob Murray and Dupont. And we're going to have a penalty. I believe it's going to be a hook as Zezel going for the puck was pulled down. So a Blackhawk will go off. We have a Flyer power play coming up. A break in the action. It's 1-0 Chicago.
Well, since the Flyers went 1 for 12 in Quebec on the power play, they've been really scoring goals when they've had the man in a scorching face. They'll get the opportunity here. Zezel made a real nice move around Lysiak, and Lysiak just reached out to pull him down, hooked him, at least try to keep him off stride, but he did it too well, pulling the Flyers center down, and he'll pick up that hooking minor of 137.
For Lysiak, it's first penalty minutes on the season. First penalty of the game, first for Lysiak on the season. Flyers, who were 0 for 4 in their 5-2 win at Chicago, are 16 for 61 overall on the season. And the Blackhawks have coughed up 17 power play goals and 62 short. That's bad. All right, Philadelphia goes with Tim Kerr with that cut over the left eye, suffered on an errant stick last night from Willie Huber late in the game. He's out with Propp, Zezel, McCrimmon, and Howe. And you can expect the most likely Billy Gardner along with Rick Patterson, who have been the premier penalty killers in recent years for Chicago, to be on. And Ben Wilson is back with Keith Brown. The Hawks get it out, and Gardner will chase. McCrimmon forces him to go behind the Philadelphia net to our right. McCrimmon works out to the left and comes up through into center ice unchallenged. Through to Zezel over the line, up the middle. Spins it back to Kerr, and Kerr a little drill shot in on the net. Not much challenge there for Bannerman, and then it's picked off and sent down the ice by the Hawks defense. A minute and a half remaining on the Lysiak hook. The Hawks drew first blood on their first shot of the game Keith Brown from Ben Wilson and Frazier at 109. Flyers penetrate. Kerr up the slot is partially blocked, but not taken out by Patterson, but followed up and sent all the way down by the Hawk goal scorer, defenseman Keith Brown. Now they bring out Jerome Dupont and Bob Murray at defense, with Olchuk and Troy Murray as the penalty killers. Flyers have Crosman out there with McCrimmon, and up front, Propp, along with Zeslin, who tries to penetrate, but Troy Murray takes it away, drills it all the way down the ice. The Hawks are coming off a Tuesday night shellacking at Washington 8-4. And often when you see that happen, defense is the key to the next game. Craven has his man turned. Had to go around behind the net as he fumbled it, partially going in on the backhand or right side. Lost the opportunity, but picks up the puck to the point to Crosman. Right side, Erickson spins inside. Olchek taps him, knocks the puck off the stick to defenseman Jerome Dupont, and he ices it. Half minute remaining on the Flyer advantage, and again, we have a defensive pairing change for Chicago. Doug Wilson out along with Ben Wilson, and Gardner remains on with Patterson. And the Flyers have had little or anything going in this power play with no shots on goal. Thomas Erickson up through to Murray Craven at center. Drills it around behind Bannerman and sets it up there. Eklund is in quickly, but they get it around to Gardner, and Gardner slaps it into center ice. And with 5 seconds to go on the Lysiak penalty, that should pretty much do it for an absent Flyer power play. Out of the penalty box comes Lysiak, and they're at full strength with 16-19 remaining first period, 1-0 Chicago. There's an outlet pass that hits the linesman Wayne Bonney, ricochets off the Lysiak. He goes down into the left wing corner, around behind the Philadelphia net, centers in front, and it trickled off the right side, and Lindbergh dove out to grab before Lysiak covered his own rebound. Early first period with a break in the action. Chicago won and the Flyers no score.
The Chicago Blackhawks did a good job that time of killing off the Flyers' power play opportunity. Did not allow the Flyers to get into the zone, get set up. The scratches for tonight are Cassidy, Ludzik, Sauvé, and also Watson for the Blackhawks. 1-0 in favor of the Blackhawks. That goal was scored by Brown, with Wilson and Fraser picking up the assist. Time of that goal was 1 minute and 9 seconds into the first period.
Didn't realize what a good-looking fellow that goaltender Bob Sauvé is until he sat directly in front of us tonight, recovering from a hamstring pull. Puck back to the plate. O'Callahan over to the left side. Drill shot in by Doug Wilson, and he takes the bump from Rich Sutter as the puck is shot out of the rink on the follow-up by the Flyers. And the Hawks will have an offensive left circle face-off with that big line of 3 years ago that hasn't come to fruition this season. Savard along with Steve Larmer and Al Secord.
You know, a lot of times when a team plays the night before, it takes them a few shifts to get their legs back, to get it back into the flow of things. And the Flyers had that real tough game against New York last night at the Garden, and Chicago was in here waiting, so it'll take a while for them to get back into their game.
The two Sutters and Carson on with McCrimmon and Howe, and again Secord, Steve Larmer, and Savard with Doug Wilson and Jack O'Callahan. The Hawks with an offensive left circle draw. Troy Murray. Puck is dropped to make that Savard. Puck up for grabs, and the Flyers shovel it on the right side to center. And it's lifted in deep by Rich Sutter, and they all chase O'Callahan for Chicago first in behind. Wheels it up to Savard, and Secord is able to bounce it into center ice to Larmer. Drops it trying to play through at the Flyer line for Denis Savard. Goes in on Lindbergh. He wheels it up on the near side. Hawks lose it, and out comes Ron Sutter. He's got Rich Sutter with him, and on the near side, McCrimmon, but offside the Flyers. But back checking very well, Denis Savard to intercept that pass nonetheless.
Well, I'll tell you, Savard got back there quickly as the Flyers were breaking out 3-on-2. He got back at the play to intercept that pass from Ron Sutter to McCrimmon as they crossed the blue line. But that's exactly what good back checking can do for you. It can allow your defenseman to stand up a little bit and challenge the play at the blue line and make the play there and create the offside.
Hawks have only won one home game of 5, but they've won 3 of 7 on the road in Minnesota, in New Jersey, and they win in Detroit. Their home victory against Hartford. Puck dumped into the offensive left corner by the Flyers. Larmer behind the net. It's centered, but errantly by Ron Sutter. Picked up and sent by the Hawks up on the far side. Savard is stopped. Flyers poke it toward the net and rolls in on Bannerman, and he reaches out to the left side of his net to grab it with both Sutters hovering nearby.
You know, with that trio out there, everybody around the league is starting to realize that they have to make their plays quickly when that puck's inside their zone, because they're going to be right on top of you. Murray Bannerman off to a very slow start for him. He's a real fine goaltender, but he's had trouble in the early going. .5 goals against average is not usually what you'll see after his name.
Dave Pastine has scored his second of the season at Boston to give the Bruins an early 1-0 lead over Hartford in the only other game tonight in the National Hockey League. By Philadelphia with Kerr, Derek Smith centered by Poulin, Erickson back with Crosman, and Lysiak is on along with Darryl Sutter and Yaremchuk as the face-off in the Flyers' offensive right circle is shot out of the rink, and we'll try it again. This time from near the top of the arc of the Flyers' offensive right circle.
2-2 shots on goal, and it is a rather quiet start for both clubs in the sense. I mean, we're so used to Philadelphia coming out and charging in the opening 5 minutes, but again, I have to reiterate the fact that Flyers having that tough game against the Rangers could take them some time to get their leg.
Flyers get it to the point, right on. A shot by Hospodar, cleared off by Bannerman to the left, and Troy Murray just flips it in the air down the ice. Flyers will have to make the quick retreat. Olczyk's going to try to put pressure on Hospodar, who plays it up the middle and pulling outlets on the right side for Kerr. Coming with Derek Smith 2-on-2 with Ben Wilson and Keith Brown back. There goes Kerr in, and he got a backhander from inside the left circle as he turned Ben Wilson but didn't hit the net. Flyers challenging behind, and it's cleared up by the Hawks to their own right side and fired by Troy Murray out 2-on-1. Brown along with Frazier. Frazier into Brown, but it's deflected off the skate. Doug Crosman as Keith Brown did for his second goal of the period, and he's a defenseman. Here comes Poulin back 1-on-1 over the line against Wilson. Tanks the shot from the top of the right circle. Follows up the rebound on the near side. Is cut off by the Hawks Ben Wilson. And Troy Murray of Chicago scoots behind his own net. Works out to the right side. Plays it up the middle and off the skate of Olczyk, who's lost his helmet or discarded it. Now he quickly goes to the bench as the Hawks bring out Sutter along with Yaremchuk and Lysiak. Defensively, DuPont with Bob Murray. Puck behind the Chicago net. The Flyers have Dave Brown on for the first time, along with Propp and Pelle Eklund. Defensively, Brad Marsh, along with Thomas Eriksson. Puck at the Flyer line. Yaremchuk, as Eriksson makes a nice circular move along his own right side. Duluth, but then gives the puck away at center ice, and it's played through on the right side by Lysiak to Yaremchuk. Pass marks right circle in front, trying to find the trailer, but Lysiak is bumped off nicely by Philadelphia's Brown, and they scoot through the Flyers to center ice, but are cut off at the Chicago line. Picked up loose and sent into the zone by Eriksson. Over the line, cut off by Lysiak. Right wing corner, round behind the net, rolls it in front, but both the Flyers, Propp and Brown, were on the far side of the net. Here comes Yaremchuk. Flyer penalty, as there's going to be a hold against one of the Flyers on the stick of the trailing player of the Blackhawks. The goaltender is out for Chicago. They have the extra forward. Savard up through into the zone to Troy Murray. Offside, as beating him into the zone along the left was Yaremchuk. Hawk power play coming up with a break in the action early first period. 1-0 Chicago.
I think it's going to be Pelle Eklund picking up the first penalty of the season for the youngster. Holding is the call, as he did grab a hold of Yaremchuk's stick as the Hawks trying to break out a 2-on-1 situation. 6:53 will be the time, so Chicago will put their power play into action. It's not been very good so far this season. They're ranked 16th in the league. So Eklund picks up the holding call, 6:53.
Hawks on the air just 9 for 56. That comes to about 14%, not so hot. 11 for 62. The Flyers have given up 82%. That's good. Against the Flyers in the game in Chicago, the Hawks were 1 for 5. They get it back to Bob Murray. The Hawks can generate a lot of oomph from the point with Murray and Doug Wilson. Puck behind the net. Secord is there, along with Larmer and Savard. That's a fine power play unit. You wonder why they only have 9. Behind the net, Savard pivots. He's got Secord in the trigger position in front. Back to Murray. Look, shot right on. Rebound was right there. And unable to get the handle on it was Savard. And just as he did, he was knocked down by Ron Sutter, who was sent away by Craven at center ice. And they rolled it into the Chicago zone. Craven, Ron Sutter, along with Howe and McCrimmon. And on the right side, Bob Murray. Outlet too far on the left wing at center ice. Cut off in the Flyer zone and pivoted and sent all the way down by McCrimmon. Philadelphia now brings out Crosman along with Marsh, and they have Propp on with Poulin. Savard up through with Secord on his left, Larmer on his right. 3-on-2, they're in, over the line, and Savard, who had the shot, chose to pass, and he throws behind Steve Larmer. Flyers Propp picks it off and ices it.
Well, that's one thing you don't want to do if you can, and Denny Savard, is you don't want to back in and give him that zone.
Flyers now aggressively forechecking, and a nice cover move in there by Kurt Frazier, who's on with Olchuk. And they send it up to center ice. Too far. Hawks giving it away. Marsh picks it off and fires it off the body of Poulin. Sinicello can't handle it. Then Frazier trying to get by Poulin. Hits him at the top of the head with a stick. Over the line, Keith Brown. He's got Olchuk in front. Then tried to feed Frazier, and that pass went a boarding. The Flyers cleared out of harm's way, but definite high stick at center ice against Davey Poulin, and everyone caught that here, but no penalty call.
I don't think Bob Myers saw it. He was over by the penalty box, and he was tracked. Frazier was taken out by Poulin and has brought his stick back, flipped him up on the helmet, but I don't think Myers saw it, because when he heard the ooh from the crowd, he looked up very quickly.
You can need a reason for helmets. There's a good one right there. As the stick did glance off the top of Davey Poulin's helmet. Without the helmet, it would have been off the top of the head.
22 seconds remain in Eklund's holding call. 11:29 in the period. 1-0 Chicago.
Again, Keith Brown from Ben Wilson and Frazier at 1:09. Shots are 3-3. Penalties are even at 1. Right. Zezel will take the draw against Savard. Offensive left circle for Chicago. Philadelphia has Craven on with Zezel and McCrimmon and Howe. Zezel tossed out of the circle, and now they'll try Murray Craven. Make that your Troy Murray at center ice now with Olchuk and Frazier. Puck behind the Flyer net. Poked free and taken off on the right side in his own zone by Craven. Up the middle. Zezel blocks with the skate. No control. Troy Murray turns at center ice. Couldn't go up. So now turns back in his own line. Sends it 2 on the far wing on a give and go. He's over the line. Going right on in. He's got a man in front, Brown, and he couldn't get the shot as Lindbergh had gone down and lost his glove. And for the second time in this early first period with the penalty over, the Flyers are able to erase a Lindbergh helpless situation by covering the shooter. Now Olchuk was open on the right side, but Howe knocks down the pass, controls for Philadelphia. 10:52 remaining first period, 1-0 Chicago, with Zezel up on the right side into the zone against DuPont. Drops it right side, McCrimmon in front. Kerr takes a slash. Rebound on the near side by Craven, and Bannerman covers that as it's chipped out along the left wing side at center by the Hawks captain Darryl Sutter. Marsh in his own zone, hassled by man, stolen away by Sutter. He gets in through on the left side, right out in front, tried to find the trailer, Uremchuk, but Brad Marsh got back to cover that. As the Flyers, as they were to some degree last night in New York, have been vulnerable in their own zone in this period. Uremchuk over the line, drops it into the left wing corner. There's Lysiak centering, and it's off the stick in front. Nice play in there, and we're going to get a penalty, I believe, against Crosman for holding Uremchuk. And it'll come at 9:53. Another Hawk power play coming up. Breaking the action. Chicago 1-0.
Flyers penalty number 3, Doug Crossman.
Crossman will pick up that minor. 2 minutes for holding. Time of that penalty is 9 minutes and 53 seconds. So the Chicago Blackhawks will have their second power play of the game. The penalty occurred up in the slot areas. Crossman was battling for position with the Blackhawk forward, was able to grab a hold of him and pull him away from the puck. And as a result, the holding penalty was called. So the Blackhawks will have their second power play of the first period. 2 minutes for holding to Flyers defenseman Doug Crossman.
Crossman 16 minutes on the season. Flyers have 2 of the game's 3 penalties. Chicago 0 for 1 on the night, 1 for 6 on the season against Philadelphia. Savard, along with Steve Larmer and Al Secord. Flyers win the draw. Prop out along with Poulin, McCrimmon, and Howe, and they come to the Hawk line and roll it in behind Bannerman, and he gives it away. Poulin wants to play, couldn't find an opening, couldn't get it back to his defense, and loses the puck. Doug Wilson to Bob Murray as they work in their own zone. We've just crossed the halfway point of the first period, 1-0 Chicago, on that early goal by Keith Brown. Flyers steal it away, and Poulin dumps it deep into his own zone. Howe has it there and then sends it all the way down. Bob Murray, in pursuit of the puck, was an around-the-corner neighbor in Kingston, Ontario. The former Flyer Kenny Lintzman is having a booming start this year with Boston. There goes Bob Murray up center ice, winds it around behind the Philadelphia net. It kicks back to the left point, crosses over to the right side. Murray has to take it off the boards. A drive, in front. It deflected right under Secord's stick again with Lindbergh on the wrong side of the net. There's a shot wide by Doug Wilson. Cleared in front and played away nicely off the shot by Bob Murray. Flyers try to get it out. They don't. Secord in front. Side shot planned on by Savard from the front right of Lindbergh. Flyers get it up to Ron Sutter and through to Rich Sutter over the line. Whistling shot over the top of the net. Ron Sutter, Rich Sutter, they follow it up behind the net. Rich is tied up by Bob Murray. Good aggressive play with 44 seconds remaining on the Flyer disadvantage. 8:51 left first period. 1-0 Blackhawks.
That faceoff will come right outside the Flyers, or pardon me, the Chicago zone, as Richie Sutter was the one who initiated the freezing of the puck along the board, so it'll come to the neutral area. You know, tickets still remain for all Flyers home games, including Saturday night's bash with the Boston Bruins. They can be purchased at the Spectrum, all the showcase stores, or any of the Ticketron outlets in the Delaware Valley. Right now, you know, Chicago is just simply outworking Philadelphia in this opening 20 minutes. And that's something that we have not seen in these first 12 previous games.
Marsh and Erickson, the back line for Philadelphia, prop and pulling up front. 40 seconds to kill on the Crossman holding penalty. And it's Olczyk along with Fraser and Troy Murray. Ben Wilson back with Keith Brown. The Hawks coming out of their own zone. Fraser into the zone, but fumbled at one time, and that was enough to send Troy Murray in offside. All right, gentlemen, I have my trivia question of the night, and I'm going to present it early to give you ample time to fumble. Are you ready?
Or stumble.
I'd like you to give me the name of the 3 Flyer goalers, all of whom made their NHL debuts against the Chicago Blackhawks. 8:37 remaining in this first period. Chicago 1 and the Flyers no score. Flyers will be back here Saturday night at 7:30 with the Boston Bruins. On the face-off, the Hawks shoot it behind the Philadelphia net. Flyers wind it up on the near side. Prop gets an angle on Keith Brown and sends it through to Poulin. In a foot race along with Wilson will win that battle. Scoots around behind his own net. Works out to the left side and will start through and puts it on Troy Murray's stick at center ice. At the Flyer line in full speed. Into the right wing corner. Wants to drop back to Olczyk. Stolen away by the Flyers. Therefore checked in their defensive corner, but then it's Poulin able to drill it up at center ice off the body of Keith Brown into the stands. And on that stoppage, that sends Doug Crossman out of the penalty box. So the Flyers go 2 for 2 in killing penalties. 8:07 remaining. Teams at full strength. First period, 1-0 Blackhawks.
Yeah, you take a look at the players that Chicago could put on that power play, and you mentioned that fact, Gene, with even with Savard, Secord, and Larmer on the forward line, and the point, they can really bring the puck to the net. They like to initiate it from the point, but you got to get that puck over to that blue line. And the Flyers employ a very aggressive forechecking style, especially when they're shorthanded. And they create an awful lot of havoc for teams and don't allow them to bring that puck in up over the center ice and get it into their own zone. If you can't get set up, you have a difficult time getting that power play to work.
Ideally, it's the perfect power play unit. 2 boomers from the point to maneuver the puck. A clever manipulator such as Savard, a great man in front of the net and finisher in Secord, and a great trigger man in Steve Larmer. Grunchuk in front had to wait to find an opening. Puck is knocked away as the Hawks have been diligent in front of the Philadelphia net. But the Flyers get it out. Lindbergh is grabbed on the way in by Lysiak and taken there by Philadelphia's Craven to the point. Knocked off with Crosman, and the Hawks try to quickly outlet to Yaremchuk. Mars cuts him off and sends it through past O'Callahan to the Chicago line. Doug Wilson knocks it down. Bouncing puck. Skips past Darryl Sutter to Crosman, and he lifts it into the Chicago end, where it's played by Doug Wilson to his right circle for O'Callahan and up the middle of the ice. Skips through Lysiak. Bounces in front of the Philadelphia net, where Crosman clears it off the glass, but not out. Rolls to Eklund. Eklund has trouble. Feeds it off to Crosman, and he lifts it down into the Chicago zone and rolls in front of Bannerman. And Doug Wilson, Norris Trophy winner 3 years ago, gets it up to O'Callahan and through, where it's taken away by Howe at center ice. And as he tried to turn Darryl Sutter, Sutter poke checks it all the way down the ice, and that's going to be an icing. But then they wave it off. They wave it off. And Bob Taylor was going to question that, and so was I, but the lead official had the foresight to say not on a poke check. Puck behind the Chicago net. Flyers battling there as they've been given very little offensively by Chicago. 4 shots. Now we got a mugging in the near corner by Jerome Dupont on Ron Sutter, and he's going to pick up a penalty. Sutter behind the net in front. Shot by Rich Sutter, covered by Bannerman, and then Dupont is going to pick up a second penalty for slashing at Ron Sutter.
He'll pick up at least a second one.
They've got a Flyer power play coming up with a break in the action. 1-0 Chicago.
Well, Bobby, as you mentioned, the Sutters are very aggressive in their forechecking. That's exactly what they're doing. They're going in there banging people around and making things happen. This is exactly what happened on his last play. where DuPont's going to pick up at least 2 minors. He's after Sutter. He grabs a hold of him and just wrestles him into the boards. And just holding him there, and Sutter's trying to break free, but to no avail. DuPont's got a hold of him, won't let go. And then after the whistle was called, the initial penalty was blown. The second altercation occurred. And that happened after the whistle. DuPont went back after Sutter, got the elbow and the stick up in Sutter's face. So as a result, DuPont picks up 2 penalties, 1 for holding, 1 for elbowing.
He has 37 minutes on the year. Penalties are now 5 in the game. 3 to Chicago, double minor to DuPont. Flyers are 0 for 5 on the young season with Chicago. 0 for 1 on the evening, and now 16 for 62 overall. They'll go Kerr, Zezel, Sinisalo, McCrimmon, and Howe. The Hawks will go with Gardner, Patterson, Keith Brown, and Ben Wilson. 6:43 remaining first period, so the Flyers have 4 minutes. We'll see if they can't get the equalizer. Offensive right circle draw. Dropped in the air by Wayne Bonney. Cleared behind the Philadelphia net, and Ben Wilson works to the right side and flashes it all the way down. Kicks off a body to the Flyer line where McCrimmon plays it to Howe. Back to McCrimmon as they retreat behind the Philadelphia net to our right. Now as the Hawks penalty-killing team drops back, the outlet to Zezel will come up the middle from McCrimmon. A wraparound will be picked up offensive left corner by Kerr. He cannot handle it as it skips over his stick and rolls all the way down in front of Pelle Lindbergh. The only goal coming at 1:09 of the opening period here. Keith Brown from Frazier and Ben Wilson. Flyers working through to Howe. Skips past him. It'll be an icing as it generates, but Howe, who made the pass, gets it onside by making the first play. Right wing corner to Zezel. Zezel behind the net to Sinisalo. Back to Zezel. He's in the circle along the hash marked right board. Takes the pass to the right point. They've got Troy Murray out there with Olchek, Wilson, and Keith Brown. Zezel still trying to draw somebody over behind the net. The Sinisalo gets it back. He's got McCrimmon open. Still no shot. 3 minutes remaining. Now he drives. Went wide to the long side as he got the screen from Kerr. And the ricochet comes all the way back to the Philadelphia line. Now Crossman comes down along with McCrimmon. And the Flyers send Prop on with Kerr. Over the line. Prop drives by the left point by Crossman. Off the blocker stick of Bannerman into the near seat for the stoppage of play.
Taking a lot of patience by Chicago. You got to keep that puck off to the perimeter. If that player wants to stand there, that's the best thing to kill the penalty. Good drop pass, and Crossman had a pretty good angle on goaltender Bannerman. When you can skate into that shot, you get an awful lot of steam behind it. But he got the shot a little bit too high, up around the knees, and it makes it easier save for the goaltender. Had it been lower, or even a little bit higher, it might have been more difficult.
All right, remember the trivia question of the night. The 3 Flyer goalers, all of whom made their Flyer and NHL debuts against the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, it'll be Craven on with Prop, Eklund, Crossman, and Thomas Eriksson against Gardner, Patterson, Murray, and Doug Wilson. Crossman at the point is challenged. Nice pressure put on Prop by Doug Wilson. Flyers having trouble along the near side. And Wilson then outlets trying to find Patterson at center ice. Scoots past him all the way into the Flyer zone, and they'll have to regroup again. With 2:29 remaining on the double minor to Jerome DuPont. Flyers showing a struggling offense right now in this first period. Hawks try to clear out. Crossman will keep it in the offensive left corner. Prop can't handle it. Bob Murray tries to come out. Blocked by Prop behind the net. Cleared by Doug Wilson back to the Flyer right point where Eriksson has it. Into the right corner. Eklund can't handle it. Skips off the skate. Kicks back to the point to Thomas Eriksson. Into the right circle. In front. Tipped by Howe. Rebound. Score by Pelle Eklund.
Pelle Eklund scored just as the penalty was expiring in New York last night. Here, he's Johnny on the spot. Bannerman makes a super save off the deflection by Brian Prop. Chicago defense were really high in that zone and labeled Prop to be all alone in front of the goaltender. They came late in recovering, and Eklund had the rebound and just had about 10 inches to put that puck in from behind the goal line, and the Flyers have tied this hockey game. Eklund, his third on the power play, and it'll come at 15-15.
That gives Brian Prop a point-scoring streak of 9. So the Flyers now have the second half of the double-minor to Jerome DuPont, so they did it just in time. Erickson in front, shot right on. Rebound up for grabs, shot on. Rebound again, and the third one off the stick of Sinisalo after Kerr had gotten the second try, all covered by Bannerman. Puck comes out, Flyers jam it back in, and that's an obvious offside.
Well, the official on that goal, Pelle Eklund is third. Murray Craven. They're saying Thomas Erickson. It should be Brian Propp. Propp is the one who deflected it in front, so that will be changed. You can bet on it. 15-15 is the time. But the Flyers have been getting a couple of good shots away on Murray Bannerman on this other power play opportunity. The Chicago defense are playing wide of the goal area. It appears like they're not taking that slot area. They're trying to keep them off to the side, but if the Flyers are coming into the middle.
If you move in the middle and it's open, the puck arrives the same time as a forward, you're going to get your share of goals.
1:34 remaining on the second of a double minor call to Jerome DuPont. 4:13 remaining first period. It is 1-1. Flyers dump in. Zezel is tied up along with Propp by Keith Brown. They battle offensive right corner. Kerr will go in. Overload for the Flyers. Now Ben Wilson helps out Brown, but it kicks free to Zezel. Zezel spins inside out of that right corner from Ben Wilson. Has trouble, kicks it free to Sinisalo. Back to the point. Closing in Propp. Rolling puck. Now he drives. Kick save, and it was steered away from Kerr, was waiting at the right side of goaltender Bannerman, and in front Zezel was buried by Ben Wilson as Bob Myers, the referee, looked up ice. There's a break. Sinisalo in with a shot. And Bannerman covered, and we get a stoppage of play as all of a sudden the Flyers' shot total is ballooned to 12-4 with 3:38 remaining in the first period, tied at 1.
The bulk of the shots have come when they've had the man advantage, and mostly on this last two power play opportunities as they've been able to really get through to Murray Bannerman. Sinisalo again coming off that off wing. That shot too high. You have to keep it lower when you come off the wing. Goaltender, when he's facing that player coming off the wing, is only concerned about stopping the puck. If you get it up too high, he can even control the rebound if it's that way.
Flyers get it back at the point. McCrimmon there with Zezel. Zezel trying to draw over Billy Gardner into the right wing corner. Gets it back. Comes in front. Tried to shovel it to Kerr. Was broken up and slapped down the ice by Billy Gardner, as again we have a Flyer injured in front. It's Peter Zezel. Appeared to get a stick up in the face.
I think what had happened is when he was coming through the middle, he took the shot, and then Chicago was trying to clear the puck, and it hit him on the head as he was falling down. But they were trying to clear that puck up through the middle, and Zezel, as he was falling down, was hit on the back of the head.
That's awfully tough in the coconut.
Well, for sure. Zezel coming through the middle as he was pulled down from behind. That's when the Doug Wilson was trying to clear that puck.
Right there.
He'd be one of the last guys I'd want to hit me in the head.
He's a tough Yugoslavian.
We've got 3 minutes and 23 seconds remaining here in a 1-1 deadlock in the first period.
We have a break in the action. 3:23 remaining first period from the Spectrum. Chicago and the Flyers tied at 1.
Zezel still down on the ice from the clearing attempt from the Chicago defenseman, which appeared to hit him in the head.
Even at the side, too, and it looks like he might be cut a bit, too. Kurt Munt out there now looking after him.
You know, there's a lot of concerned young ladies in this building because he is the heartthrob of the single athletes in Philadelphia right now.
He's groggy. He's having a tough time getting up.
The puck hit him on the side of the head. It looked like it hit him on the back, but I think that hit him on the side just below the helmet, and he is cut.
Yeah.
And he is rather wobbly.
I think it maybe hit him right on the ear. There's that opening in the helmet with that ear strap.
Yep. He's in obviously a lot of discomfort right now. Funny about this time last year that he suffered that broken hand.
That's right.
Let's see if I can figure where.
We're tied at 1 here in the first period. 3:23 remains in the first.
Came in the Flyers' 12th game against Minnesota, and here we are in the 13th game. And he's being escorted off. Bill Barber, the Flyers' all-time leading goal scorer, is going to be honored in a marvelous ceremony here at the Spectrum. Thursday, December 5th, the visiting team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, a limited number of tickets still remain for that game and may be purchased at the Spectrum, all showcase stores in the Delaware Valley, and any Ticketron outlet. Going in after Zezel was the Flyers orthopedic surgeon, John Gregg, and one of the Flyers medical staff from Pennsylvania Hospital, Jeff Hartzell. Flyers working up the middle, 27 seconds left on the power play. Prop the right side, skips to Poulin, has to control, winds it around behind Bannerman, hits the backside of the Chicago cage. Keith Brown tries to wheel it out. Kept in by Howe. Offensive left corner dump to Prop by Kerr. Prop is tied up by Ben Wilson. Poulin behind the net. Breaks free of Keith Brown. Comes to the near side in front, and Kerr shot wide from an angle front right of Bannerman. There goes McCrimmon in the offensive right corner. Prop takes his position at the point. McCrimmon gets back. The penalty is over. McCrimmon in front to the side of the net. Poulin in front. Score! Kerr! Beautiful play, and it's 2-1 Philadelphia.
It's amazing how many times do we watch that tic-tac-toeing.
You know, you only like it, and you know that big fella's going to be around that goal crease. You know he's going to be just off the post, and it's amazing why that defenseman Keith Brown went charging way over from the right position to pick up the player coming out of the corner. That left that front of the net wide open, and Tim Kerr will just go to the hole. The pass will be there, and it's in and out before you can even move. Branderman had no chance whatsoever on that shot. A puzzling move by Keith Brown.
That came 5 seconds after the penalty to Jerome Dupont expired. Now there's a play in front. Rich Sutter shot blocked. Rebound by Ron Sutter, a backhander. Deflected wide with Bannerman out of position. Centering pass by Ron Sutter hit the backside of the net as Bannerman was trying to recover. Rich Sutter is buried at the side of the net by Doug Wilson as the Hawks shoot it up the center ice. Picked off at the Flyer line and turned the other way by McCrimmon up through to Ron Sutter over the line. Nice poke check, but it rolls into the right wing corner. Shot on by Carson. Bob Murray broke it free, but it rolled right in, and Carson who got the shot. Secord back along with Denise Savard. In front trying to find the trailer Larmer, but Rich Sutter stuck to him like fly paper. Takes him into the Flyers' defensive right corner. Sits on the puck and will get a stoppage of play. With 1:47 remaining first period, 2-1 Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're having a little meeting of the mind. 17:20 the time of that goal. Timmy Kerr's 12 from Poulin and Brad McCrimmon. 2-1 as the Flyers have been able to really come back in the last 7 or 8 minutes of this period. Al Secord, you know, just got married last spring as well. It's trying to get over a bad muscle pull. Kept him out of action for a good part of last year and the year before. He's a guy I think Chicago is really trying to count on for production this season. They need him out there on that left wing.
Also a little peak of anger and loss of discipline by Jerome Dupont has cost this team all that they worked for through the game's first 15 minutes. Flyers get one on one half of his double minor and in effect really scored the second before it got into action and lead it 2-1. Flyers working up as they have Sinicello out there along with Derek Smith and Craven. Sinicello drops in front. Nice play by Derek Smith, shot over the top of the net as Craven cut across in front of the goalie for screening. And here comes Savard out along with Bob Murray. The trailer is Steve Larmer. Nice move by Savard. In and a shot. And Lindbergh with a save, and he was down helpless on the rebound and then hit at the side of the net by Steve Larmer as the Hawks try to come in front. There, a play behind. Larmer centers it. Flyers take it off and get it past Bob Murray, but he keeps it in. Shot in on the net, deflected to the far side to Jerome Dupont. His shot cut off and sent by McCrimmon off the right border to the skitters and slides all the way down the ice. You'll hear Lou Nolan say last minute of play in the period. Thank you, Lou Nolan. As the Flyers penetrate over the line down that right side, man in front. Passes blocked back to Prop. In front, pulling a drive. Knocks it down. Shot on Bannerman, and Bannerman covered, and the Hawks clear the rebound. Poulin left unguarded, had a chance to knock that one down and take the quick shot, but it was in too tight on the goaler. Hawks have been held to 5 shots with 38 seconds remaining first period. Get it up the goal scorer. Keith Brown down that left side at center ice. Into the zone in front. It ships in off Lysiak's stick as he was going up the slot, but Lindbergh covered that.
A lot of time when that puck comes in bouncing towards your goaltender, the best play is for the goaltender to make sure, go down and cover up that loose puck, and that's exactly what Pelle Lindbergh. Just prior to that, Savard had a great opportunity. He went down, made the one move, and Mark Howell put it through his legs, stepped around the outside and took that shot on goal, but Pelle Lindbergh was able to be there to make that save to keep this score 2-1 in favor of the Flyers with 30 seconds remaining here in the first period.
Tom Lysiak, originally drafted by the Atlanta Flames, and we often thought, we thought he was going to be one of the really premier diamond players in the league, but got into some problems of not his own making with an agent, cost him a great deal of money and probably peace of mind and concentration on his game, and lost his effect at Atlanta and then went on to Chicago, where he's had just a journeyman career. Up through at center ice with 20 seconds left. Hawks trying to break through on the far side. Crosman is out with Marsh, break that up. Pulling on with Propp and with Kerr is over the line. Then Wilson penetrates, backhander in front. Tried to shovel through for Yaremchuk. Flyers break that up as the Hawks tenaciously try to dig in the final seconds for the tying goal. To the point, played off to Brown. He's got a chance, drives it high wide of the net, but Lindbergh reached out and grabbed to hang on to make sure with 2 seconds remaining in the opening period.
Well, the Hawks were buzzing here in the last 30 seconds, putting some pressure on the Flyers in their own zone, but the shot was taken from out for the point by Brown, who got the only goal for the Blackhawks of the period. It was a long shot, and Lindbergh could see it all the way and was able to play it, with the Flyers right now discussing their strategy in their own zone with 2 seconds remaining in the first period.
Remember one time when you were playing, we had 2 or 3 seconds left in the period, and Greg Shepard, right off that left circle, fired it right over Wayne Stevenson's shoulder, and I believe that was the game winner.
It was.
McLeish did that once or twice.
What they do, Gene, is they take the shot right off the faceoff.
Yeah.
Right at the goal.
2 seconds left, so Troy Murray has to try to beat Philadelphia's Davey Pullen cleanly and shoot on Lindbergh. That's why you want a right-hand shot out there. All right, Wayne Bonney drops the puck. It goes to Murray in front, and before Doug Wilson could do anything, we come to the end of the first period. Keith Brown is first from Ben Wilson and Frazier at 109. Power play goal tied it at 15-15. Eklund is third from Propp and Craven. And 2 minutes and 5 seconds later, Kerr's 12th from McCrimmon and Poulin. 2-1 Philadelphia. The Hawks had 3 of the game's 5 penalties in that first period. Philadelphia out shooting Chicago 15-6. We'll be going downstairs shortly to Bobby and his guest, Captain Darryl Sutter of the Chicago Blackhawks, after we move for these words.
I can't remember where I saw you. The books. Yeah, I was the guy that dropped everything and you helped me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Hang around Grand Central Station until she shows up and then hand me some line?
He's a friend. We take the train together, and I like him.
Two people finding each other.
We're married.
Mine, too. Married people have to eat, too.
Feeling the excitement.
Nervous.
Yeah, I am nervous.
So is this love? Please.
Falling in love.
What am I supposed to do? Take her to a hotel? Take her to my apartment. I'm not using it.
Asking the questions.
What are you going to do about it?
Taking the chances.
What's going on with us? I mean, what's the matter?
I met a woman on a train.
Robert De Niro.
Please, sister, can I see you?
Meryl Streep.
I'm going to go see him.
I don't understand. Why are you doing this?
I have to go.
Falling in love.
Flyers fans, here's an opportunity you won't want to miss. Now you can subscribe to the Flyers' very own game publication, the Philadelphia Flyer. That's right. Get 20 great issues of the Flyer magazine, the very same one that's sold at the games, delivered to your door for just $32.50. That's a savings of more than 20% off the cover price. Each issue is loaded with stories and photos of your favorite Flyers and NHL stars like Wayne Gretzky. To order, send check or money order to Flyer Magazine, The Spectrum, Philadelphia 19148. And here's a special offer just for you Prism viewers. Subscribe to the Flyers magazine now and get free the brand new 1985-86 Flyers calendar filled with beautiful color photos of the Flyers in action.
2-1, Flyers lead Chicago after the first period of play at the Spectrum. And our guest, as Gene mentioned, the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks, Darryl Sutter. And, you know, it's an interesting thing when you take a look, or for me, because I used to belong to Chicago along with Ed Van Impe, and you take a look at your roster, Darryl, and to me it seems like this club should be in the top 5 or 6 of the league.
and yet you struggle. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think this year our biggest problem has been our special teams. You know, we really haven't. We've been just awful on power play and penalty killing, and you know, I think, like you said, we have a pretty, on paper, we look pretty good, and I think we have a good system. You know, I think we're well coached, and we just haven't been able to put it together yet.
Tonight, it seems like you're playing a much more conservative style than what we witnessed in Chicago. Is it easier to play on the road?
Well, it is actually for a team like us. Like you said, it should be easier for us to play because we're, you know, we'd want to play a straight-ahead game. You know, most of us are like that, except you know, you get guys like Dennis Savard and Kenny Rimsack, guys like that. But most of us just got to go straight ahead with us, and that's how you got to play on the road.
It's been working very well tonight. There was a little bit of letdown again, as you mentioned, your special teams with the power play. The Flyers got the back-to-back one.
Well, the 4-minute penalty kind of took the heads away a little bit, and you know, and we've been running into that problem with penalties again, and hopefully we'll bounce back here.
How's it feel playing against the Twins?
It's hard, you know. Of all of them, they're the hardest to play against. I don't know why. Maybe because when I left home, they were just, you know, they were little guys. Now you look at them, and they're bigger than I am, and you know, they play so well, and you know, you're so proud of them, stuff. You want to go out there and pat them and stuff like that, but you can't do it, and it's hard to play against them.
They are a very active group, twosome out there as well. I mean, they're always on top of you. They've just had an outstanding start this year.
Yeah, well, you know, it benefits them so much when they play together. You know, they did it since they were little guys, and they know how each other plays, and they know how to get each other mad and get each other going, and they're a pleasure to watch.
Does Mom favor them?
They're still Mom's boys, I think. I don't, you know, she doesn't tell us who she favors, but I think she's kind of partial to the Twins.
You guys get home all the time in the summer, and I know you got an awful lot of things going back there. You started a charity golf tournament this summer. Is it get the chance to see each other throughout the season? Does it make it tough when you don't see it as often as you have been over since you were kids growing up?
Well, it's tough, you know. Like you said, you want to see each other during the season, but it's tough to see each other. You know, when we do play like us in town here, it's tough to go see them because you know, I gotta be with the Blackhawks, and you know, it's hard to go talk to the Twins because you know they're getting ready to play, and I'm trying to get ready to play. And it's hard to, like you say, it's hard to see them during the year, and it makes you want to see them all that much more in the summer.
I guess it's tough to let them know because I know they still idolize all you guys that are older.
Well, you know, of all my brothers, you know, they're the ones you talk to most on the phone, and whenever there's a little problem or if you're hurt or something, gosh, the Twins are like, you know, they're like your angel or something. They're always calling you and talking to you, and you know, they're good kids.
You've had a lot of problems with injuries. How's the health of Daryl Sutter this year?
Well, I seem to be healthy. You know, I'm not playing that well, and you know, I don't know if it's in the back of my mind or what. I'm just trying to get it going, and you know, this is the first year that I've started healthy, so hopefully I can carry it through.
Maybe that's the switch. Maybe that's what you're not used to.
Yeah, I think so. A little hard in the mind.
This is a club, talking to the Flyers now, they really like to get out and swarm you in the first period or so and then let you try and catch up. Was it a real game plan is to try and play a much more conservative style in that first 20 minutes with Bobby Pulford?
Well, we want to play their game, or I mean, play the kind of game they want to play against us. So we want to get the puck and throw it in and get after it and force their defensemen instead of them coming from wheeling up the ice and throwing it in and having their forwards jumping on us. We want to be the guys who are flooding the zone, and you know, hopefully we can do that. When we played even strength, I think we were all right. You know, we were just trying to dump it in and force them, and hopefully we can do that.
Well, I hope you stay healthy for a full year, Daryl. Thanks for being our guest.
Thanks very much.
Daryl Sutter, our guest, with the score, Flyers leading the Blackhawks 2-1. Now for a different look at goaltending. Let's go down to Prism Sports and Mark Zumoff. Mark?
All right, Chief, thank you, and good evening to you. Welcome to this, our first look at Prism Sports tonight. Flyers up a little bit slow getting started there, and a 1-0 Chicago lead evaporating as the Blackhawks gave the Flyers a 4-minute power play. Flyers getting one on the power play and one just after the 4-minute power play ended, and they lead it 2-1 after one. A first period recap, including highlights and analysis from Ed Van Impe and Bobby Taylor, still to come. Only one other game to keep track of tonight in the National Hockey League. Dave Payson, his second of the year, the Bruins, leading right now in the first period of play. While the goaltender may very well be the last line of defense, he is also many times the start of a team's offense. Tonight, Prism's Ken Adelberger examines some of the other aspects of playing golf, aspects that do not necessarily entail stopping the puck.
You've all heard of the stay-at-home defenseman. He's a defenseman that stays right here in front of the goaltender and the net and keeps the front porch clean. But nowadays, that defenseman might just turn around and not find the goaltender behind him. Since the game has changed somewhat, the goaltenders have had to handle the puck a little bit more. Some goaltenders are not as adept at handling the puck as others. By leaving the front of the net, they are vulnerable and succumb to forechecking readily. It's bad enough when the defense gives the puck away. Now goaltenders are equally responsible for misplaying certain situations. But the game requires that goaltenders be mobile, and thus the Flyers goaltenders practice the proper ways to stick handle every day.
Especially this year, I've been working a lot with the E.J. Maguire here. After every practice, we've been working 5-10 minutes trying to clear the puck, shoot the puck, pass the puck, and stuff like that. And especially for me, who is from Europe, it's, we don't play like we do over here behind the net and all that. I have a lot of things to learn, so it's helping me a lot this year.
Yeah, we work a lot in practice. They'll dump the puck in, and it'll be our job to get it up to either the defenseman or the breaking forward, and just, you know, to get the rhythm going, I guess, like a quarterback and a receiver, you know, for them to know how we're going to pass it and, you know, our tendencies. The big thing a lot of clubs want is when the puck's dumped into your end, you want to get it back out as quick as possible, especially if you're killing a penalty or something like that. And it does help if the forwards know what you're going to do with it, and you have a good understanding, good communication on the ice. It can help the team out tremendously.
The difficulty with stick handling, insofar as goaltenders are concerned, is rather simple. The equipment they wear on their hands is geared to stopping pucks, not passing them. The waffle board has finger slots to grab the stick, but the glove does not. So in a sense, goaltenders must stick handle with one hand.
Well, the stick hand is no problem, because that's like a regular glove underneath, but the catching glove is a little tough to hold on to the stick with it, so especially on backhands, it's tough to shoot backhand. Forehand is a little easier, but like you said, it's a little tough, especially when you're not been doing it since you were younger.
To combat this problem, goaltender Bob Froese uses a newfangled stick called the Curtis Curve that not only conforms to the glove, but also has other advantages as well.
I think the basic, when it first came out, it was to basically help the goaltender shoot, Kenny. And if you notice, it's easier to grip with your gold glove on, and this part sits in your palm. And for some reason, when you have your gold glove on, I can't understand why, it is easier to shoot the puck. And also, when you put it down flat, as you will right here, when you do put it down in front of you, instead of having only the paddle on, now you also have the shaft of the stick on the ice. So you're taking up about maybe another 2.5 feet on the shooter when you lay it down in front of you. It has another part, it's curved up here, which is to help when you do drop your stick, it's easier to pick up. And also, I think it gives you a little bit more leverage when you go to shoot the puck. This is really the first year I've started with the curved blade. I fooled around with it a little bit last year, but you can get a better shot away. What I was always worried about were deflecting pucks off, and whether when you laid it down in front of you, like this, whether it would be fully on the ice. And there is a little bit of a rocker. I don't use a very big curve. Pelle uses a bigger curve than I do, but it does help you with your shot, and it really doesn't affect your backhand shot at all because it's such a curve on such a big blade. You can still backhand the puck from the heel.
Goalies have also worked on their skating abilities. Getting to the puck quickly and efficiently makes the workload that much easier on defensemen and forwards.
Well, I don't know if it's any better skating, maybe quicker, being quicker coming out of the net to get to loose pucks, because it's a lot more of an offensive game than it was, I guess, even if you want to go back 10 years, or even 5 years since the Edmonton Oilers have come on, and they've won 2 Stanley Cups. There's the one that everyone else is chasing. Goaltenders have always been the kind of skaters where they're good balance, good stability out in the ice, but now it has to be good balance and also being able to charge out at either a player shooting or a loose puck.
No, I always said that a good goaltender can skate as good as the other players, and I think if you take most of the goals in the league and just take all the equipment off and skate with the other guys, they skate as good as the other guys. It's just that the pads and everything is really heavy, and they hang on to the ice a lot, especially when you try to skate fast and stuff. So I think most of the goals can skate really good. It's just that it's tough with all the equipment.
One such case when goaltenders can help the defenseman occurs when the opposition dumps the puck into their own offensive zone. By stopping the puck behind the net and leaving it for his defenseman, the goaltender has eliminated players from skating all over the zone to get the puck.
I think Jacques Plante started that, helping out his defensemen instead of just letting the puck go around when the other team dumps it in, stopping the puck, and that way you can leave it behind the net and the defenseman comes, and that's where they like to start, is behind the net. And so they can use the net as kind of, you know, a pick to pick off the oncoming forwards. But there, what you try to do is on the one side, when they shoot it in, you can bank your whole body up against the boards and stop it, and you can get pucks, you know, 3-4 feet off the ice that way, as long as they're on the board.
Point shot. So, next time when you're at a hockey game, watch the goaltenders. As the game has changed, so have they. Whether it's passing the puck, clearing the puck, holding it up for the defenseman, or poke-checking it away, it's increasingly obvious that they do more than make saves. I'm Ken Adelberger for Prism Sports.
And a reminder to join us for 76ers basketball tomorrow night here on Prism, live from the Spectrum. It'll be the only appearance of the year of the San Antonio Spurs. Jim Barniak and Andy Musser with all the action for you beginning at 7:30 tomorrow night right here on Prism. And that is it for this latest edition of Prism Sports. I'm Mark Zumoff. We'll have more for you between periods 2 and 3. Right now, after 1 here at the Spectrum, the Flyers leading Chicago 2-1. Now, for their comments on the big moments from period 1, let us go back to commentators Ed Van Im and Bobby Taylor.
Thank you, Mark. Eddie, a strange period because we haven't seen it happen this way for at least the 12 previous games, and that's been a slow start for Philadelphia. In fact, when you looked at the shot total, about the first 10 to 11 minutes of that period, they only had 4, and I'm talking about the Flyers, and they ended up with 15.
Well, they picked it up in the second half of the first period with the use of those power plays as a big help as far as shot totals and also scoring goals are concerned. But we're used to see the Flyers, and especially here at home in the Spectrum, to come out in that first period, that first shift, and be very, very aggressive as far as their forechecking is concerned. They usually go in there and force the issue right off the bat and try and, you know, force the opposition. And tonight the Blackhawks is the team. They try and force them into a mistake and get that early goal, that early lead, and kind of put the visitors behind the 8 ball, but they have not been able to do it tonight.
They were behind the 8 ball. You know, young Keith Brown was the one who opened up the scoring, and he's a Chicago Blackhawk defenseman.
Well, I'll tell you, in that particular play, he was all alone and behind the Flyers forwards and the defenseman, and he was one-on-one with Pelle Lindbergh, just broke right in behind with an excellent lead pass, and Ben Wilson just hits him right on the money, makes that one move to the forehand, just puts it low by the glove side of Pelle Lindbergh, and at that point, it was 1 minute and 9 seconds into the first period, and it gave the Blackhawks a 1-0 lead, but an excellent lead pass from Ben Wilson, and hit him right on the stick, and made that one quick move, and it was in the net.
We've always talked about the power play, and then we haven't really been that, shall we say, up on the Flyers' ability to put the puck away when they've had the man advantage, and they've started to get a little bit better. They started to score some goals now when they've had the man advantage, and I think if you take a look at a turning point in that period, that was when the DuPont took those double minors, because obviously Pelle Eklund got a goal to tie the game, but the Flyers seemed to come alive then.
Well, I think with the help of that, you know, misplay by DuPont really did help. You know, you and Gene were talking about the personnel the Blackhawks can put out there in the power play. They should have a great one. But you look at the Flyers and their personnel they can put out there, and also, you know, the forward line, the center ice area, on the point, they should have a great one. Some nights it is, and that makes I'm sure the coaching staff kind of wonder when they go out that night, is it penalty or power play going to work tonight, or isn't it?
Well, it worked well there that one time. Pelle Eklund picking up his 3rd goal, and here's a youngster that's starting to come alive a little bit offensively.
Well, he's coming alive. He's picked up his 3rd goal. Brian Propp took the shot. The save was made, and all of a sudden it just squirts out to the side. And Pelle Eklund was there to put the puck in behind the goaltender for the Chicago Blackhawks, Bannerman. Bannerman went down and made the initial save, but the puck was just laying there, and he just tapped it in that wide-open short side to give the Flyers their first goal, and it was a power play goal by Eklund. That was the first minor. In fact, there was 2 seconds left, Bobby, in that minor to DuPont when Eklund did score that goal.
Chicago did an excellent job in the first 10 to 11 minutes of that period of keeping the slot area free. They kept the Flyers away from it, or maybe it was just the fact that the Flyers weren't going to the net as well in the first 10 minutes as they did in the second 10.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. The Flyers weren't going to the net as hard as we've watched them in different games, but it's tough over 80 games to keep that, you know, that sustained pressure, that, you know, constant attack on the opposition. They didn't do it maybe as well tonight as they have done it, but after all, they're ahead 2-1. But also, by the same token, I think the Chicago Blackhawks were aware of the fact that the Flyers go to the net, they look for the rebound, they look for the turnover in front of the net, and sooner or later it's going to come, and that's exactly what happened on Kerrs.
Well, they know that. Everybody knows that, but this time they didn't do it. Keith Brown made an odd move, in my estimation, charging from the front of the net where he was in front of Kerr to the corner when leaving Kerr all alone on his goal.
Well, it wasn't only an odd move, it was a bad move. The Flyers were on the power play, and it's just scored after the power play was terminated as far as the Blackhawks are concerned. The Flyers have the pressure on. They're moving the puck around the outside of the perimeter. Now finally the play is made towards the net. Brown's leaving his position, going into the corner. Here's number 12, all alone, waiting for the pass from Davey Poulin, and Poulin just hits him right on the money. But again, Poulin couldn't score from where he's positioned, Bobby. So you got to leave him stay there. He can't score from there. Let him have the puck because he's going to be behind the goal line. He can't score from there. And as a result, Brown makes that move. No one's on Kerr. And that guy scores 50 goals a year. So you got to watch him. They didn't, and he scored.
2-1, the Flyers lead after 1 period of play. For that scoring summary, let's go upstairs now to Gene Hart.
Again, it was Keith Brown at 109 from Ben Wilson, Kurt Fraser. Eklund on the power play is third at 15-15. Now, they've given Erickson assist. It should be Prop and Craven the other, and I'm sure that'll be changed. And then Kerr is 12th at 17-20 from Poulet and McCrimmon. The Hawks had 3 of the first period 5 penalties, and they were outshot 15-6. Our one other game tonight, Hartford at Boston. The one goal scorer that we had, Dave Cassine, the young rookie for the Bruins in the first period, and they lead it 1-0 after 1. Flyers back here on Saturday evening at 7:30 against the Bruins. And a week from tonight, our next Prism game at 7:30, the only appearance of the Edmonton Oilers. All right, play underway with the Hawks defending right and the Flyers left. Philadelphia goes McCrimmon out there with Howe, and Poulin, Kerr, and Prop as the Hawks come through at the Flyer line. Frazier on with Olczyk and Troy Murray. Lindbergh feeds it up on the left side. Olczyk picks it off, goes back to the point, rolls to center ice, and Brown tried, but ineffectively to keep the puck inside the zone, and he's whistled for the offside. Keith Brown, again, has just been pestered over the last 3, 4, 5 years with injuries, hands, knees, broken jaw and the like, and just never seems to get on crank for a full season. Handsome young guy, good shot, but again, his career's been tilted somewhat in its development because of that injury plague. Referee Bob Myers and the 2 helmeted linesmen, Ron Asselstein and Wayne Bonney, will handle the draw. Craven on with Prop and Dave Brown, along with Marsh, who has the puck on the draw, and Crosman. And the same pair out there, Brown and Ben Wilson for the Hawks, with Troy Murray, Olczyk, and Kurt Frazier. And again, in Chicago, that trio up front known as the Clydesdales. Bannerman takes the puck, tries to wheel it out on the near side, kept in by Crosman at the point. Shot smothered. Flyers trying to keep it in. They work, and it's drilled wide of the net by Dave Brown as he's knocked down by Ben Wilson. And the Hawks get it to center. Chopped down, no control by Olczyk, but here comes Frazier with a bullet up the middle, and Lindbergh ate that up about knee-high and rolls it up on the left side. Pop's got an open man on the near side. Offensive right corner dump, and that man was Murray Craven. Has it, tried to get it in front to Brown. Play broken up. It ricochets off the glass behind the Chicago net, where Blackhawk Bob Murray wheels it up at center ice, stick handling through into the neutral zone at the Flyer line, penetrates the zone, tries to drop it back. Oh, look out in front. It was almost deflected to Billy Gardner, who wound up for a shot, and the Flyers were able to tap it to center. The Hawks drive it right back down behind Lindbergh. Pressure put on by Mark Bergevin, on for the first time in my memory in the game, and now we're going to have a penalty as Brad Marsh took down Billy Gardner at the side of the net. It'll be a hook. We'll have a Chicago power play coming up early second period with a break in the action, 2-1 Philadelphia.
That penalty to Brad Marsh, 2 minutes for hooking, will give the Hawks, the Blackhawks, their third power play opportunity. Play was developing in the Flyers zone. Marsh just got the stick out there and pulled the Hawk forward down to the ice, and as a result, the call was made. Time of that penalty is 1 minute and 30 seconds into the first period. Brad Marsh, 2 minutes for hooking. And the Blackhawks will enjoy their third power play opportunity of the game. The Flyers lead the Blackhawks 2-1.
Penalties in the game even at 3. Marsh now with 40 minutes on the air. For those of you who keep these numbers, Hawks won the battle of faceoffs in the first period 12-10, with Troy Murray winning 5 out of the 8 he took, and none of the Flyers over 500. Peter Zezel, we understand a mild concussion, cut over the ear. He's questionable for a return. Got hit in a shot in a clearing play on a Flyer power play midway through the first period. Right, Flyers get it out of their zone. They've got Poulin on with Ron Sutter killing the penalty. McCrimmon back with Howe. Here comes Denis Savard over the line. Secord breaks for the net. Savard works to the hash mark left circle, tries to feed in front. Deflected to the far corner where Steve Larmer gets it back to the point. There's a whistling shot. Lindbergh can't handle the rebound off his glove. Taken by Steve Larmer behind the net. Wheels to Denis Savard. Back to Larmer. Both of them in the Hawks' offensive left corner. Then they go back to the far point. Olczyk straight away Doug Wilson to the top of the left circle. Savard there, trying to draw over Dave Poulin, then goes in at the hash mark, at the goal line, offensive corner, straight away to Wilson, who can cannon from there, goes instead to Secord. It's behind him. He has to take the carom off the right corner board. Now comes to the top of the right circle, Alarmer. They rotate straight away to Olchuk. Left side pass. Now Wilson drives. It's smothered and blocked by Ron Sutter. Slapped that by Doug Broad McCrimmon. He can't get it out. Hawks get it in front, another shot. As Secord knocks it down and had his own rebound. Lindbergh covered that. The Flyers can't get it out. Second try by Ron Sutter and a melee of players at the top of the Flyer right wing circle. Howe finally controls and wheels it up on his left side and all the way down. 45 seconds on the Marsh penalty as the Hawks throw it away at center ice. Crosman is there, threw up the middle, shot by Propp, and that was kicked away to the far side by Bannerman, and then Crosman, the rebound, pokes it behind the Chicago net, where Ben Wilson, hawked by Murray Craven, has to go back to the right corner, and Keith Brown is going to be problemed by Brian Propp, as Propp and Craven are keeping the Hawks pinned into their own zone. Propp is knocked down by Keith Brown, and that allows Chicago to come up the middle. Savard in full flight over the line. Frazier, there's a drop pass to Brown. Into the left circle, a pass. Off a skate as Savard had the open side of the net. Drive in front. Knocks off the skate of Darryl Sutter on the drive by Ben Wilson. Sutter into the offensive right corner, Chicago. Back to Keith Brown at the point from Kurt Frazier. Off his stick to center, and now Brad Marsh is out, and the Flyers make it 3 for 3 against Chicago. The Hawks now 1 for 8 in 2 games against Philadelphia on the advantage. Puck in the Flyers zone, and Crossman shoots it all the way down. Trailing official Wayne Bonney has his hand up. Keith Brown is first in for the Hawks. Ron Asselstein, the lead official, agrees, and we have an ice ig.
These are the type of games, if you're a coach, that you just hope the players could come out of it. Mike Keenan, of course, always looking for the edge and always really studying and wanting to make sure that the players are completely prepared and then ready and up for each and every game. And as you mentioned, Eddie, and as we both know, it's tough to be that way for all 80 games. But right now the Flyers enjoy the 2-1 lead, and they had a tough time starting. I think this is a type of game that the players are going to have to really force themselves to concentrate and also to keep them playing at their best.
Flyers have a defensive left circle draw. Olchuk, Frazier, and Troy Murray on with Bob Murray and Jerome Dupont. The Flyers have McCrimmon on with Howe, and up front, Derek Smith with the puck, along with Poulin and Timmy Kerr. Smith over the line, offensive right corner dump. Olchuk is there to clear out. Flyers keep it in along the offensive right side. It goes into the corner. Up for grabs to Kurt Frazier of Chicago. Wheels around to the right side to defenseman Bob Murray to Olchuk. He can't get out. The Flyers wheel it behind the Chicago net. Bob Murray gives it away in front. Poulin with a slap shot. Opportunity drive. He has another opportunity. He's poked at by Bannerman as the Hawks finally cleared out of trouble. Comes in front again. Derek Smith, a feed from Kerr, but it went to the offside of the stick. Hawks take it and shoot it to center ice. Trying to headman to Troy Murray, but there is Howe to take it. Get it up through to Kerr from Poulin at center ice over the Hawk line. Quick wrist shot in on the net. Bannerman steers to his right, and the Hawks shoot it to center ice. Marsh fires it right back in, but we have an offside as Kerr just a half stride failing to get out of the zone. 4:40 gone. Scoreless second period from the Spectrum. 2-1 Philadelphia.
You know, the Showcase stores are a great place to purchase Flyers tickets, souvenirs, and videotapes. There are now 12 Showcase stores located throughout the area to serve you. Why don't you visit one soon? The only other game are in the National League. Hartford's in Boston, and in the second period, the Bruins still clinging to that 1-0 lead.
Philadelphia with Eklund, who had the tying goal for the Flyers, out along with Craven and Sinisalo. Sinisalo gets past Doug Wilson and is just corroded and pulled down as play continues and wheeled around to Yaremchuk. He overskates, and Eklund did not see the puck laying up, and the Hawks get it up to Lysiak. Over the Flyer line, breaking for the net in front was Yaremchuk. He cut off in front. It comes again as they had Yaremchuk there from Darryl Sutter with Jack O'Callahan, the defenseman, making that first play in on the net. The Hawks still back by 1. Puck at center ice. Craven to Marsh. Wheels it right side of the Flyer line to Thomas Erickson. Up ice to Pelle Eklund. Over the line with Craven. Drop pass in front for Sinisalo. He was screened off by Lysiak. Eklund drives it. Gets it back on the left wing corner. Centering pass block. In there is Sinisalo. Wheels away from Lysiak. A pull down. Shoveling pass and a shot wide. Coming in from the left point by Thomas Erickson. To Craven. He drives it in toward the net off the leg pad of Lysiak and shot by the Hawks, Darryl Sutter, to the center ice. into the Chicago zone. Jack Callahan, the defenseman, handles. He's on with Doug Wilson. Hawks get it up at center ice, shoot it all the way down over the Flyer goal line. Touched up by Lindbergh and fed off to McCrimmon, who's out with Marge. Up through. There's Rich Sutter out there with Ron Sutter and Lindsey Carson. They poke it down behind the Hawk net. Stolen in front. Score by Ron Sutter as he picked Murray Bannerman's pocket and burned him.
Talk about a big goal. That one by Ronnie Sutter was a real big one and a beauty as far as the play is concerned. Bannerman went in behind the net to play the puck. He had control of the puck, and Ron Sutter just stripped him of it as they were battling for possession. Walks around, no defenseman out in front, and just puts it in the net on the backhand. But Bannerman did have possession of the puck, and both defensemen went in behind the net, and as a result, when Sutter got the puck, there was no defenseman in position to make the play. In desperation, a big goal stick went down, but it was too late. It was Sutter's second goal of the year.
His first goal, and only a second, the first one since he scored in the Flyers' 5th game of the year. His second back from that early season injury. He's unassisted at 6:06, and the Flyers now have scored 3 unanswered goals and lead 3-1 as we take a break in the action from the Spectrum.
Probably a lot of time like that, a defenseman should stay in front of it. There's poor communication. One goes, the goaltender goes up behind the net. One defenseman will go and help, but the other one's got to be out in front.
You know, they got to talk, too. Secord was back there. DuPont were back there, and all they have to do is yell at the goalie to let him know that there's a guy right on him, and normally a goaltender will get rid of that puck or at least try to get back there as quickly as possible. It did appear that either player for Chicago did give Murray Bannerman a yell. And you're helpless when your back's to the play. It's tough to play looking in the glass all night.
Farmer, Savard, and Secord on with Bob Murray and Normand DuPont, Jerome DuPont for the Blackhawks, McCrimmon and Howe, and up front, Rich and Ron Sutter with Lindsey Carson. Puck wound to the Flyers' offensive right side. Rich Sutter is tied up in there. Ron Sutter battling along with DuPont. They jam it up at the Flyer right hash mark. Rich Sutter has his skates pulled out from under him. The Hawks come up at center ice. Savard drops behind Secord, who has to wait at the Flyer line. Then wraps it around behind the Philadelphia net. Cleared by Howe. Pass. Support checking Savard up on the Flyer defensive left side in the center ice. Bob Murray gives the puck away at center as he threw to Steve Larmer at his back pass. Turn. Rich Sutter over the line. Works to the left side. Pulled down by Jerome DuPont is trying to go out for his 3rd penalty of the evening. The 4th called against Chicago of 7 whistled overall by Bob Myers, the referee. 6:59 the time. Flyer power play coming up. They lead at 3-1.
Chicago penalty number 25, Jerome DuPont.
Holding will be the call, and it will come at 6:59, as Gene mentioned.
Jerome DuPont, Chicago.
And this is Flyers' 4th, 1 for 3, as you mentioned, but DuPont very upset with himself. Sutter has a deceiving move, Eddie, and you being a defenseman,
Moves to the forehand.
he goes to that forehand, and a lot of times you'll catch that defenseman leaning too much to the middle, and then when you go to the outside, he has to grab a hold of you.
It appears that Ron Sutter maybe had cut a little bit in that play as well, as the trainer is looking at him and had the towel on his face. He may have got nipped a little bit.
I told him he's going to have to start wearing a shield or you'll end up looking like Parkey.
McCrimmon right off the draw. Whistles one from the inner arc of the right circle, and Bannerman just grabs with the left glove. 4 penalties to Chicago, Bobby and Eddie. 3 of them to DuPont, and all of them on actions against the 2 Sutters.
Boy, a good shot, and again, Murray Bannerman very quick with that glove. Boy, that forward has to get out there quickly, at least to get halfway or near him so he can try and deflect it.
All right, Flyers have Howe and McCrimmon on, along with Poole and Kerr and Trop. Trop picking up the right point as McCrimmon went in deep. McCrimmon along the near side. Feeds right wing corner to Poole. Right across trying to find Howe, but it was a stride too far in, or the pass 1 stride too far out. It sails past the Flyer power unit, up ice into the Philadelphia zone. Gardner out with Patterson, the traditional penalty killers for the Blackhawks. Here's a dump pass by the Flyers that hits referee Bob Myers in the ankle. He's shaking that one off as the Flyers trying to get on track. They are 1 for 3 on the advantage, 2 for 7 on the season against Chicago. Over the line, Howe right corner, pulling right on in, and he had Bannerman going right, shot left, but missed the net. Up ice comes Philadelphia, through into the neutral zone with the puck. Keith Brown, a sailing shot wide to the left of Lindbergh, who grabs for control. 1 minute remaining on the DuPont penalty. 12 minutes remaining in the second period. As Pop comes up the middle, left wings to Kerr. Kerr trying to turn in. He's taken out of the play nicely by the defenseman on that side, Jack Callahan. And we get a stoppage of play. We're going to tell you or ask you on the next stoppage of play the names of the 3 Flyer goalers, all of whom made their NHL debuts against Chicago.
Callahan that time was 1-1. He did a great job. Anytime you go 1-1, you take the body, and that's exactly what Callahan did. He had position on Timmy Kerr and knocked him down to the ice, but in a position like that, you don't play the puck, especially on a guy like Kerr who's so big and strong. You play the body.
By Philadelphia offensive left circle, Sinisalo, Eklund along with Craven, Crossman back with Thomas Eriksson. It's Troy Murray out with Olczyk and Doug Wilson with Jack O'Callahan. Eklund now will take the draw against Troy Murray. Flyers get it back to the point. Crossman looks, right side Eriksson, a one-timer, right on. And Bannerman kept that one away. Eklund takes it back to the point. To Eriksson, right side pass to Eklund. Into the side of the net, in front of Stuffer. And it was just missed by Sinisalo. The Hawks take it away. Flyers get it back, try to wheel it offensive corner. They control it straight away to Eriksson. Right circle, Eklund shot. And that was tipped over the top of the net and off the glass behind Bannerman by Ilka Sinisalo. May have hit Bannerman's stick. Nope, off Sinisalo, and it appears the faceoff will come to the neutral zone.
They're moving the puck around much quicker than they had in the first couple of chances, and when you do that, you have the defensive team has a tendency to really get caught leaning, and also they'll get caught moving out of their position.
You know, Bobby, Gene's trivia question, being the kind of gentleman I am, and it's a goaltender's question, I'm going to let you go first.
Well,
it's not that I don't know.
Well, I know one of them.
Well, you better know one of them.
All I have to do is look in the mirror.
Up ice, the Flyers penetrating. 20 seconds left on the advantage. 11:20 remaining second period. 3-1 Philadelphia. Keith Brown is there to the point. Flyers keep it in, but no control, and it rolls off to Ben Wilson, who lead our Chicago charge to center ice. Murray tries to get in along with Olczyk, and back comes Kerr along with Sinisalo. Kerr's pass a little shy of Ilka as he tried to penetrate, but Thomas Eriksson had fallen into the zone without a stick, so Kerr has to rag at center ice as the penalty is over. Kerr penetrates. He's got Brown turned. Right wing corner, tries to center. He stands on it. The Hawks take it, give it away at the point to Crossman. A shot on the net. Whoops, it got through Bannerman. But Flyers weren't there for the rebound. It was slid off to the side of the crease, and Chicago shot it all the way down. Penalty over. Teams at full strength. Flyers lead 3-1 as they shoot it all the way down the ice into the Chicago zone. Bobby and Eddie are shaking their heads on the side as they wonder why Lindbergh touched up the puck before on what was an obvious icing. Concentration. Here come the Hawks up the middle. Savard, always dangerous. Gets past Howe. Top of the right circle. He's got Larmer in front. Pivot. In front, trying to feed the breaking defenseman, Doug Wilson. His centering pass off the stick of Lindbergh. And sent out. Rich Sutter's got a break with Carson if he can get to the puck. But Jack O'Callahan, with good hustle, just picks it off at his own line. Now Ron Sutter penetrates. Holds. Got a man up the middle. Howe. He's in. Shoots. Score!
Wow, what a goal. Woo-hoo.
You know, you just take a look at hard work and hustle, and Ronnie Sutter makes that whole play happen. He just keeps after the play, and Chicago just seemed to relax, and it looked like they had the puck out of danger, but Sutter just made that nice move, dropped it for Howe. Now the fine move to the forehand. He had Murray Bannerman on his knees and praying, and there was really nothing he could do about it, as Howe makes that perfect move to the forehand. 90% of the time, that player will go to the backhand. This time, Howe goes to the forehand. The Flyers have a 4-1 lead. Ronnie Sutter, what an excellent play he made to set that up.
This is number 14, Ron Sutter.
Now from Ron Sutter at 9:57. And it's 4-1 Philadelphia. Now the Flyers break again. Brown has Thomas Eriksson as right. Headmans it off the right boards in behind Bannerman. Eriksson is there, but the Hawks skip to the puck. And it's fed by Jack O'Callahan to his own left wing side. Kicks back behind the Chicago net. So O'Callahan goes to Rick Patterson, who's trying to get some offensive play, and they give it away to the point. Thomas Eriksson is shot in on the net, and Bannerman steers to his left. As the Hawks now are getting very careless in their own end, and their broadcasting color man, former league defenseman Dale Talon, said that's where they've been most deficient this year, is in the defensive zone. Flyers break in. Brown's got a pass. He's got a man in front. Rolls it behind the net. Picks up his own rebound. Holds at the left side of Bannerman behind the net, but the high pass goes past Craven to the left point. Kept in by Marsh. Offensive left corner to dunk by Craven. He's tied up by O'Callahan. In there is Billy Gardner with Dave Brown. Brown breaks off the check. Tries to come to the near side. Has nowhere to go with the puck. And as it did last night in New York, takes the bump to hold on and make the play. Now his stick is up in the air as Patterson has lost his stick as he was out-jousted in front of the net by Murray Craven, but the Hawks are able to get it into center ice. Flyers trying to drive it in, and the Hawks say enough of that as they have a player without a stick. They ice it, and we get the stoppage of play. 4-1 Flyers, a break in the action, 8:33 remaining second period. All right, give me the three goaltenders.
All right, well, of course, myself.
Bob Taylor, right.
Michel Bellemare.
Michel Bellemare, you tied 3-3, and Michel won the first ever Flyer win in Chicago, 4-3. I will tell you, the other debut came here, and he lost it 3-2. Good friend of yours.
Oh, Bunny LaRock.
No.
No?
You know, come to think of it, he did. I never thought about him, but I'm talking, NHL debut against the Chicago Blackhawks.
NHL
Okay,
debut.
good.
Okay. Well,
my question was sound.
okay. I'll give me a little time to think on the third.
Okay, we came up with two of the three Flyer goalers who made their NHL debuts against Chicago. Bob Taylor won, Michel Bellemare, both in Chicago, and the other debut was made here by a goaler who lost to the then powerful Blackhawks in the early 70s, 3-2. I will tell you, the first Flyer goal that night was scored by Pierre Plante. Up ice comes Chicago over the line. Yaremchuk tries to turn Hospodar. He does. The puck doesn't. Oh, if it comes right in at the side of the net, hit Lindbergh in the right skate and almost caught the short side post. And Tully said, look, what's this down here?
Dunk Wilson.
Yes, Dunk Wilson. Thanks, Cooper.
I had to help Robbie Taylor out.
Well, you know, we've always seen an awful lot of designs and things painted on a mask, but Skorodinsky, the backup goaltender for Chicago, has his painted like a skull.
All right, Flyers have Hospodar on with Crosman and Kerr on with Poulin, and he's grabbed, pulled down by Ben Wilson as Bob Myers looks on impassively. And Keith Brown pursues the puck in the Chicago zone and outlets it up on the right wing at center where it's taken by Crosman. Into the zone, tries to hit Kerr, but Lysiak takes it back. Fans on his first side, but gets it to Ben Wilson on the second. Then from the left side at center, curls back in his own zone. Little give and go with Keith Brown, and Ben Wilson up the middle. Stick handles past Poulin. Over the line, runs into traffic, and we have an offside called Chicago.
Get about 3 or 4 Blackhawks all in one little pile just across that blue line. That extra dipsy doodle was made, and the offside was called. The Flyers are out in front here in the second period, 4-1, with 7 minutes and 44 seconds remaining. Coach, General Manager Bob Fulford, I'm sure, would like to have things a little bit better than they are right now. Got himself into a hole, but plenty of time left to dig their way back out.
You know, Chicago worked very hard in the first 11 minutes of the hockey game, but now they're letting the Flyers take things under control. They're not working as hard as they did in the first 10 minutes.
Savard, Secor, Steve Larmer on, along with Bob Murray on the right side, Jerome Dupont on the left. The Flyers go with Rich and Ron Sutter, Lindsey Carson, and defensively McCrimmon and Howe. Puck off the dasher, kicked out. Lindbergh knocks it behind. McCrimmon can't control. Hawks try to play it in front. Savard tied up by McCrimmon. Secord wrapped up by Ron Sutter. Four of them battle. The puck still in play in front. Kicked out, a shot. Blocked off the stick. Rebound. Tried by Larmer. The first blocked by Carson. The second never reached net. Then a short side shot from deep in the right corner by Chicago to the left side of the Flyer net. But Lindbergh just grabbed for control of the puck in the defensive zone.
You know, it's interesting how coaches match up strength against strength right now. You've got the top scoring lineup for the Blackhawks with Savard at center, and you got Ronnie Sutter, who's really known for a strong defensive player, paired off against him. And also you've got the two best skaters as far as the defensemen are concerned for the Flyers, Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon out there against the top Hawk line as well.
And I would also apply the strength of Lindsey Carson to hold Secord off.
I don't think he's completely quite as strong as Secord. There's not too many guys in the league that are as strong as Secord.
Lindsey's game.
All right. Flyers will send Lindsey Carson in against Larmer as Savard and Ron Sutter were dumped out of the circle. Defensive left circle, Philadelphia. Right at that circle, Carson goes down. Bob Murray puts it through into the near corner. Savard takes the carom. Back to the point. Pressure put on Jerome Dupont, who's hit hard by Ron Sutter. Puck up for grabs in the near corner and fed to Ron Sutter. He fails once to get it out. Fails the second time, but the carom of his second pass goes to Howe, and he shovels it up through to Rich Sutter. He loses it. The Hawks shoot it back in. We'll have a delay offside unless the Flyers come out cleanly. And they do not. Secord puts on the stoppage of play pressure. 6:54 remaining second period with a break in the action. It's 4-1 Philadelphia.
Now, we talked about Secord and that big year he had in '83, and he's had some big years for Chicago when he was sent over from Boston, that trade for Michael Connell.
We'll repeat those three goalers, all of whom made their Flyer and NHL debuts against Chicago. Bob Taylor, Michel Bellemare, and Dunk Wilson. It's odd that Michel Bunny Larocque played his first game as a Flyer against Chicago, but not his NHL debut. Eklund, who has one goal, is out there with Sinisalo and Craven, Erickson and Marsh. And the line of Troy Murray, Frazier, and Olczyk with Doug Wilson and Jack O'Callahan. 6:46 remaining. 2 goals in this period, both by Philadelphia. Ron Sutter unassisted and Howe on a feed from Ron Sutter. Both coming 3 minutes apart. Flyers balloon their lead from 2 to 4-1. Now it's Brad Marsh shooting it up ice. Doug Wilson, who played much of his career despite a series of very damaging head injuries. Much of his without a helmet has gone to it full time now. Puck in the Flyers zone. Sinisalo is hooked and harassed all the way in by Frazier. Rolls to Marsh. Marsh gets fed a weak check by the Hawks' Troy Murray and shovels it up on the left wing at center ice to Pelle Eklund. Rolling puck, he flips offensive right corner. Sinisalo is bumped off nicely by Frazier. Nice hold in there by Doug Wilson to pull Pelle Eklund's forechecking. He's able to get it through to center ice. Eklund there now drives it where it's taken by Doug Wilson. Up through at the Flyer line to Troy Murray. Frazier for the net. Troy Murray shot blocked by Brad Marsh. And Pelle Eklund takes the rebound and just flips it into center ice as we have 5:45 remaining in the second period. Flyers back here on Saturday night with Boston. A week from tonight, our next Prism game at 7:30 with the Edmonton Oilers. Flyers' next road game a week from this Saturday, November 16th at Hartford against the Whalers. Flyers' Dave Brown harassing Ben Wilson. That's a nice pair up as the Flyers keeping it at the point. A dump in off Crosman hits Lindsey Carson in the shoulder. He gets it back in the left circle and shot is deflected out of the rink, and we have 5:21 remaining second period. We have a break in the action. It's 4-1 Philadelphia.
You know, we have to mention Peter Zezel not out. He got hit in the side of the head or the ear rather with a puck and got cut. And we've heard that he has stitches and a possible mild concussion. He's not seen action left, and you'll see the Flyers really shifting lines now. And Eklund, I'm sure, will get a regular shift now.
Kenny Lynchman's third goal of the year in the second period, up Boston's lead 2-0 over to Hartford. Again, Boston 2-0 over Hartford in the second period. You know, it doesn't look very impressive, Lynchman with 3 goals, but he has 19 assists. As they have him playing with Keith Crowder and Charlie Simmer, and that's Boston's most productive line by far. We'll see them here on Saturday night with Gordy Kluzak back healthy and Barry Peterson tucked behind the Philadelphia net as the Bruins go Chicago going in. Darryl Sutter in there with Carson, and Crosman has his man tied up. Darryl Sutter tries to dig it out, but Flyers have it. Lindsey Carson along the near side. Oh, gives it away to Tom Lysiak as he looks and set for Hospodar. In front, but Crosman's right where he belongs and slams it down the ice. Rolls to the Chicago goal line, and Keith Brown will pick it up before it hits there. So no icing and play continues as the Hawks Secord trying to come out of the zone. Chicago's offense after that goal at the 1:09 mark of the first period has been pretty well emasculated. They've only had 9 shots since, 10 for the game, and trail at 4-1. Outlet pass at center, taken by Kerr, pivots on the offensive side at center, and drives it into the Chicago end. Philadelphia now with Howe and McCrimmon out there along with Prop, Poulin, and Kerr. Chicago, Ben Wilson with Keith Brown, and they have Savard on with Larmer and Secord. Up to Dennis Savard at center ice. He's dumped by Poulin. Outlet pass through to Kerr. Tries to work past Ben Wilson, who shoulders Kerr out of the way, and the Hawks shoot it up ice deep in the Philadelphia zone, where Howe picks it up in his own left corner. Looks, swings past Savard, is harassed, and outlet through to Prop, and he deflects it down the ice to the Chicago line, where it's gathered in by Jerome Dupont. Outlets at the Chicago line, left wing to Secord. He right wings to Bob Murray at center ice. Flyers take it away. Kerr into the zone. left wing corner dump taken away by Bob Murray. His outlet stolen by Kerr. Feeds it in front on the deflection from Poulin looking for Prop. But Bannerman was able to get a piece of it before it hit. Prop in front of the net and covered it for the stoppage of play with 3:38 remaining second period. 4-1 Philadelphia.
It's a good example of where we get a rolling puck going towards the goaltender. You should get your body in front of it. And that's exactly what Bannerman did. He missed the original play in the puck with his stick as it was rolling. It bounced over top. But he was able to have the skate in behind to keep the puck going into the Chicago net. He just whiffed on the original play, but his leg was in behind to make that save and keep this game at 4-1 in favor of the Flyers with 3 minutes and 38 seconds remaining in the second period.
Eklund centering Derek Smith and Dave Brown with Marsh and Erickson. Doug Wilson out along with O'Callahan. And it's Gardner along with Mark Bergevin and Rick Patterson. Puck behind the Philadelphia attack net right out in front. Turnaround shot by Derek Smith is smothered by Jack O'Callahan before it got to Bannerman. Flyers along the near side see the Hawks play it at center ice. Patterson knocks it down, but no control as he's bumped off by Eklund. That allows March to seam up on the left wing at center. Offensive right corner dump. Brown takes it, tries to shoot it in on net. Shakes it behind the net, and it's picked up on the far corner and sent by O'Callahan to center ice. Marsh flips it right back in, as it apparently seems to Eddie that the Flyers want to make sure they shut down the Hawks with nothing during the remaining 3 minutes of this period to take a 3-goal lead into the intermission. We have a break in the action, 4-1 Philadelphia with 2:59 remaining in the second period.
Well, it was in my imagination, or is it I think the Flyers are dumping the puck in the defensive zone of the Blackhawks more than they have throughout the year. On the power play, they're dumping it in, and also when they're even strength, they're dumping it in.
Bears had Mike Keenan wants him to get that puck. You know, a lot of times when they have that player or play at the blue line, when everybody knows exactly what they're going to do, you're going to be able to react to it. I guess they feel that if you pressure the Chicago defense, that they're going to be able to enforce more turnovers. Keith Allen, Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, and Bernie Perrant. Boy, what a lineup there.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. Another defenseman alongside of him, Keith Allen.
Hard to believe that the guys with whom you played are now in the old fogey section.
Well, 2 of them are in the Hall of Fame. 2 other ones should be.
Yeah.
Keith Allen and Bill Barber.
Yes, indeed. I don't think there'll be any question eventually. O'Callahan, as the Hawks try to come out of their zone. Olczyk is stopped. Frazier trying to roll it in. He's tied up by McCrimmon and Sutter, but there's Olczyk taking it into the offensive corner. Shovels it back to Doug Wilson. His point shot, look out in front. Shot over the top of the net. Beautiful effort by Savard. Comes out in front. Sees it to the far side where O'Callahan shot. Knocked down as it hit Frazier in the back. And Brad McCrimmon just looks and puts it up into center ice. Boy, Savard had Lindbergh going down and just a little shovel pop shot over the top of the net. Puck comes out to center, and Howe will grab it for the Flyers. Feeds it back to his own line for McCrimmon up on the left side. And it's dumped in nicely by Lindsey Carson, who's out with the 2 Sutters. 2:10 remaining in the second period. Flyers scored at the 6:06 mark at 9:57. Ron Sutter and then Howe. And they've been very happy since then to totally shut down the Chicago offense. Sinisalo comes out with Eklund now. Hospodar out with Crossman. It slapped into the zone. Knocked down and kept in by Doug Wilson over the line. Right side pass to Frazier. Going for the net is Olczyk. There's a shot over the top of the net by Doug Wilson on an opportunity play. And Lindbergh on the rebound. Karam off the backboard. Falls on it to the right side of the net for the stoppage.
Boy, I'll tell you, you have to force yourself to concentrate. You have to force yourself to be in the game at all times. And that's what Lindbergh is doing at this point. Chicago's only managed 11 shots on goal, 6 the first period, 5 here so far. And when you're not getting tested, you're getting 1 shot maybe every, 3 or 4 minutes. It's tough to keep your concentration. It's also, you're cold constantly. You have to almost seem like you want another warm-up after every period.
Remember, once the Flyers shut out Toronto, and they at least had only 10 shots, and Perrant came in and feigned indignation to the team and says, "What's the matter? You got no confidence in me?" Hawks attacking. Lysiak over the line. Breaking for the net is Yaremchuk. Tried to use Yaremchuk as a screen, but shot and passed wide of the net. Hawks take it. There's a play in front. Blocked off again from Lysiak, this time by Crossman. He flips trying to come out. The Hawks keep it in aggressively behind the Philadelphia net. Lysiak in front. Quick shot by Sutter from right in at the crease to the right of Lindbergh, who smothered it. And play will stop with a minute 13 remaining second period. 4-1 Philadelphia.
Well, Lysiak made that play from behind the net, and Sutter was there waiting for it, took the shot, but goaltender Pelle Lindbergh was over there taking away the angle that Sutter had. The play was made on the backhand. Sutter was right on the doorstep, took that shot. Doug Cross was quick to arrive in the scene to move him out of the way, but Lindbergh was there. There was no room for the puck to get by the Flyers goaltender. He made the save, fell on the rebound, so the minute and 13 seconds remaining in the second period, Flyers 4, Chicago Blackhawks 1.
Interesting to be in the right position. The Flyers have won 8 in a row, have only lost 2 of 12 games, and they only have a 4-point lead. Chicago is 4-7-1, and they're only a point out of first place in the really struggling Norris division, where all 5 teams are under 500. St. Louis leads. So has a steal as it gets right by to Dave Pullen, but it bounced over Keith Brown's stick, so he never touched it, and thus the play picked up offensively by Dave Pullen winds up to be a very long 2-line pass.
The Flyers captain Davey Pullen has had a great career since joining the Flyers, picked up 165 points in 162 games, and captains are supposed to provide leadership, and that young man, Dave Pullen, does that exactly for the Flyers.
He's a free agent. Timmy Kerr, free agent. Bob Froese, a free agent. Huh? You call Pickens.
That's where you can really help your organization team move ahead quickly. A couple like that.
Puck up at center ice. Brown is checked off, trying to take it through with Prop. He can't. Kerr dumps it in. He works down that left side. He's got Pullen in front, shovels it right out past Bannerman. Rolls to Crossman. He's shot right on, and Bannerman reaches low with the left glove and hangs on for the stoppage. With 47 seconds left in the second period. Shots in this period, 11 Philadelphia, 6 Chicago, 26-12 the Flyers for the game.
Flyers forced to play a little bit more here in the second period. That time forced to play in the Blackhawk zone, getting the puck back to Crossman for the shot, but Bannerman was able to see it all the way, and as a result was able to make that easy play and hang on for the face-off in the Hawk zone.
Kerr, Pullen in front with Crossman and Marsh. Murray, Olczyk, and Frazier for the Blackhawks, with Ben Wilson and Keith Brown. Flyers get it back to Crossman. Open shot, and Bannerman ate it up but didn't control the rebound. But the Hawks nonetheless get it up at center ice. Rolling back to the Philadelphia line, where it's taken away nicely by Kerr, as the Hawks now have Larmer on along with Savard and Troy Murray. There's a play to Murray. Breaking for the net is Secord, but we're going to have a penalty against Philadelphia's Brad Marsh for taking down Steve Larmer in front of the Flyer net. So Marsh, who has 2 of the Flyers' 4 penalties, in both of them in this period, got one in the first minute and a half and gets one in the last 26 seconds.
He's going to pick up a 2-minute minor for interference as he interfered with the Hawks forward who was trying to go to the net. Time of that penalty is 19 minutes and 34 seconds of the second period. Brad Marsh, 2 minutes for interference, so the Blackhawks will have their 4th power play opportunity of the game. The faceoff will be taken inside the Flyers zone to the top of the circle to Pelle Lindbergh's left.
Marsh, 42 minutes on the air as the penalties in the game are even at 8, or even at 4. Hawks are 0 for 3 on the night, 1 for 8 on the season against Philadelphia, and overall against the league, they are now 9 for 59. Their leader on the power play, and that's Kurt Frazier, Larmer, and Savard, all with 2. Flyers get the draw, and here comes Pullen, Prop, and Howe, 3 on 2. Over the line, Howe has nowhere to go and wheels it around behind Bannerman. With 10 seconds remaining in the period, the Hawks have 1 thrust perhaps up ice. Has a nice effective job, slows them down, and all Secord does is shoot from the neutral zone, trying to get something in on a Hoper shot. It's wide as we come to the end of the second period. Ron Sutter is second of the year at 6:06 unassisted, and then Howe's third from Ron Sutter at 9:57. Flyers score both goals, 2 of the 3 penalties in the second period to Philadelphia, and the second will have 1 minute and 26 seconds to run over into the third period. Shots, 12 Philadelphia, game total of 27, 6 Chicago, a game total of 12. We'll be back with Bobby Taylor downstairs and his Flyer guest after we come back from these very significant words.
You are about to enter a world where the unexpected,
many dangers exist on Arrakis.
the the unknown and incredible secret has been kept on this planet. And the unbelievable meet. I see two great houses, feuding, where kingdoms are built on earth that moves.
We have one sign the likes of which even God has never seen.
And skies are filled with fire.
The prophecy which will cleanse the universe and bring us out of darkness.
Where a young warrior is called upon to free his people. A spectacular journey through the wonders of space and the mysteries of time.
Most burglars steal money or jewelry. This one stole a diary.
The odds against a crook being sensitive enough to get into your diaries is about 1,000,000,000 to 1.
I know he's reading them. I can feel him turning the pages.
I was just getting off on the fantasy.
Something happened tonight, didn't it? Pretty tight. You got that look like something happened. Now he's going to use what he's learned from it to steal her heart.
What the hell's in this book? Ain't full of the light.
Anything you want. Any way you ever imagined it.
Deep apart.
4-1, Philadelphia leads the Chicago Blackhawks after 2 periods of play, and our guest, Flyer defenseman Brad Marsh. And I would think, coming off of such an emotionally packed and excellent hockey game last night in New York, that this would be an awfully difficult game to play against, because it seems like it's very hard to get anything going.
Exactly. Last night, with Teddy Sater coaching his first game against us in Madison Square Garden, that says it all. That was a great game, not only to play in, but to sit on the bench and watch. And tonight, it's tough to get any momentum going. We're dumping it in, and it seems our forwards are forechecking them, and their defense, are coughing the puck up. And Ronnie Sutter got a great goal this period just by, outworking them, and that seems to be the case in all areas of the ice tonight.
Is it tough coming back when you play the night before? You're getting older now.
We got such great travel in our division, and like we were back in bed at 1:30 last night. We just bus in and bus out, so that's not too bad. Like you say, I'm getting a little older, but we'll keep that a secret for a couple of years.
Brad, Chicago's the type of club that you really don't know what they're going to play like. In Chicago, of course, you can expect it because the crowd gets behind them. But when they're on the road, they can be very, very good, or, like tonight in that second period at least, very, very bad.
Before each game, we have a meeting, and, we have their lineup up on the chalkboard, and everyone always takes 5 or 10 minutes, and they look at it, and you go over in your mind what moves a certain player has, or if he's fast or slow, or if he's got a good shot, a slap shot, or whatever. They've got an awful lot of talented players on there, but like you say, sometimes they go and sometimes they don't. I don't know exactly what's wrong with them, but we only have them 4-1, and like I did say, they have an awful lot of talented players on that team, and if we let up and they get a quick one at the start of this third period, we could be in for a tough game. So we have to be on our toes.
Dennis Savard, of course, such a great offensive threat for Chicago, or whoever he would be playing for, but do you tend to back up a little more and make that turn a little quicker when he's got that puck?
Oh, definitely. When you see him coming down on you, because that guy is, I think, one of the trickier players, if not the most tricky players in the league. Wayne Gretzky beats you just on his smarts, on his overall puck sense, but Savard, he can turn you inside out and then turn you right back the right way again. But he's such a great player, and whenever you're out on the ice, it's just not one defenseman trying to key on him. It's 5 guys got to shut down his skating lanes and whatnot. And so far, we've done a good job. The Sutter line's done a great job on him.
I would think, too, that that's a type of line that would be very difficult to play with, because you have, as you say, Savard, tricky. You've got Secord, who has unbelievable strength, and then Larmer, who is so deadly when you get him in the slot.
Definitely. When you put, it's a general manager's dream there. When you put together a line like that, you always want to have someone tough on your team, and when that tough guy can score 40 goals, if he stays healthy the whole season, that's, like I said, a general manager's dream, and that is probably one of the better lines in hockey.
getting back to yourself, 4 defensemen most of the time. Mike Keenan's gone through the first 12 games. I've asked Crossman, I've asked McCrimmon, and I've asked Howe. Has that surprised you? Does it surprise you?
Yes and no. I talked to everyone always talks with Mike during the summer, and he said the first couple games he felt every team would be gearing for us, and they'd be on such a high to play the Stanley Cup finalists for the Philadelphia Flyers that he wanted to go with 4 defensemen to make sure things were just click right for us the first bit. And it's great for us. It's kind of unfair for Thomas and Eddie because they worked just as hard as we did, in the off-season conditioning and through training camp. But the last 2 games Thomas and Eddie have played, and they've played well. And it gives us a bit of a rest because even though we like to play as much as we can, it's ridiculous to think that we can play for 80 games with 4 defensemen, especially what happened last year with Brad McCrimmon getting injured. We need someone ready to play, and if we're going to play 6, those are 2 excellent defensemen to have in the lineup.
Back-to-back games would be welcome, too, I would think, in the second half.
Oh, definitely. Our division, I noticed looking at the schedule, has some back-to-back game with the Islanders in Washington, and it's not only just playing every other shift, it's such an emotional game because it's our division, and the Islanders, they're, for years and years, have always been the team to take the wind out of our sail, and now I think we might have the upper hand on them, so we need all the help we can get.
Well, Brad, thanks very much for being my guest, and good luck in that third.
Okay, thanks very much.
Brad Marsh, our guest. Flyers leading Chicago 4-1. Now, with a visit with Hawk defenseman Bob Murray, let's go down to Prism Sports and Mark Zumoff. Mark?
All right, Chief, thank you, and good evening once again. Welcome back to Prism Sports for the second intermission. Flyers leading it after 2 by a score of 4-1 over Chicago. By the way, late word on Peter Zezel hit, I guess, with a stick or a puck in that first period. 3 stitches right above the ear here, almost near the temple. Taken to the hospital just for some precautionary x-rays, make sure everything's all right with the noggin. He will not be back tonight. Bobby Taylor and Eddie Van Entho will be back. They will recap the big moments of that second period in just a few moments. Stay with us. Only one other NHL game tonight at Adams Division Battle. The Bruins leading Dave Payson his second, Kenny Linseman his third of the season. As impersonal as it sounds, players are pieces of property in a sense. They can be traded at a moment's notice, and rarely, really, does a player go through his career with just one team. But this morning, Prism's Ken Adelberger spoke with a member of the Chicago Blackhawks who is in his 11th season with the same team.
Ask anyone to mention some Chicago Blackhawks players, and the typical answers would revolve around Tony Esposito, Bobby Hull, Jim Pappen, or Stan Mikita. Mikita currently holds the Hawks record for most seasons with the team. He played for 21 years in Chicago. On the Hawks' current roster is an individual who, for 11 years, has also played a lot of hockey for Chicago. He's defenseman Bob Murray. Though he still has 10 years to go to catch Mikita, and at age 31 that would seem unlikely, Murray is still surprised at his longevity.
Oh, it's very surprising in today's game. I've just been very lucky, very fortunate, and I'm happy, and it's great to be here, and I just hope that I can finish it.
You've been in the game for 11 years. I imagine you've seen quite a change with one team from that perspective. How have you had to adjust, perhaps, from when you came in as a rookie into what the game is now?
Well, I came in at the end of a very good era, of the Hulls and the Mikitas, and I came in with a very great hockey club with a great defense, and there's a lot of dry spells in Chicago after that, as you know, here in Philly, and we just, it's a very physical game in those days, and now it's still physical, but the game is the speed, I think, has just increased greatly, and the passing and the puck control game is, it's what's one of our biggest problems right now. We're not doing that very well, and other teams just seem to control the puck all night long.
Has it gotten too fast? Are there nights now when you come off the ice and you're just totally drained because the skating has been a real quick pace?
Oh, some nights, 3 games in 4 nights, and then play some teams that really skate well. It gets very difficult, yes, but I think that's age more than anything else.
Tell me a little bit about your Chicago club this year.
Well, we haven't changed at all from last year in the playoffs, and Mr. Polford took over. We're really basically the same club. There was no surprises in training camps, and no young kids really came along and took any jobs, which I think has hurt the hockey club. Like there was no pushing for jobs, or no competition really, and we're off to a very sluggish start. We're just not doing the things that you have to do what your club is meant to do. You have to play the style that the guys are best at. You have to go with what you do best, and we're just not we're not forechecking right now as well as we should have. And we have some big guys who control the puck in corners and things. And we're trying to be a little bit too much of a finesse team right now. It's just not working right.
And it's a shame because you're in a division that if you can come off to a good start, you can really separate yourself from the pack early.
Oh, if we would have gotten off to a good start, definitely. I don't think there's anybody over 500 in our division as of last night with St. Louis getting beaten. You know, it's our own fault. We had chances at home. We didn't play a lot of real good clubs. You know, we had Philadelphia once and Boston once and Washington twice. But other than that, we haven't played a lot of real good hockey clubs. And we're just, as I say, we're not working as a team right now, and we're not doing the things that we do best.
Now, you mentioned earlier in last year's playoffs, and having played the Edmonton Oilers, they're the team that it seems like you guys are going to have to go through if you ever expect to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Do you think it's good that Chicago has stayed pat, or do they really have to make some changes so that you can compete with that Edmonton club?
Well, we were hoping last year after we got beat by Edmonton that there might be a couple of good skating, puck control players to come along and help us out, and it just didn't develop. I really believe last year in the playoffs we were very unhealthy at the point when we played Edmonton. We were not. Our defense was just down to there's one healthy guy and one so-so healthy guy, and we have to, I'd like to try with a healthy defense, and hopefully if a change has to be made, I'm sure our management will make it, but we've got to get everybody going first to see whether we have to do that or not.
Bob Murray of the Blackhawks. In case you're just joining us, Murray's team is trailing right now after 2 periods of play. Flyers leading it 4-1. Highlights and third period action all coming up. Pity the poor Toronto Maple Leafs. 1-11 so far in the young season and really going nowhere fast in the sub-500 Norris division. Last night the Leafs lost at home to the Islanders. New York's Pat Flatley really killed them with 4 goals. So let's take a look at some of the action. Last night at Maple Leaf Gardens, here's Flatley. Actually 4 goals and an assist. Here with the Leafs leading 2-1 in the second period, it's John Tonelli to Flatley with the second goal of the night. Then on the power play, good passing between Tonelli and Flatley again. The natural hat trick puts the Islanders up by a score of 3-2. The Leafs came back and they tied it, but once again it is the Tonelli-Flatley connection hooking up, put the Islanders up. Toronto came back, tied it at 4 in the third, but it's Flatley again, this time assisting Pat LaFontaine with the game winner as the Islanders won it by a score of 5-4. 76ers basketball tomorrow night, 7:30 exclusively here on Prism, live from right here at the Spectrum. 76ers and the San Antonio Spurs, their only visit this season. Join us for all the action tomorrow night. Last night, Prism viewers saw the Sixers rally from a 9-point halftime deficit against Indiana. 2 right off the bat. Charles Barkley off the play from the center court tap. Clint Richardson making his Spectrum debut last night as an Indiana Pacer. He scored 9 coming off of the bench. 59-50, Indiana at the half. The 76ers coming back third quarter, a big third quarter from Sedale Freed. And here Julius Erving feeding Moses Malone 2 of his game-high 21 for Moses as the Sixers won it last night, 105-97. Half dozen games on tonight's NBA schedule. An update, the Knicks 0-6 looking for their first win. The Milwaukee Bucks, by the way, in here on Sunday. A game right here you can see on Prism at 7 o'clock. The Nets leading the Bulls in the third. And those Clippers, they are undefeated, but they're on the road right now through Texas, trailing by 10 in the second. Later tonight, Dallas is at Denver, the Lakers at Utah, and at Arco Arena, Cleveland is at Sacramento. Late last season, the St. Louis Cardinals traded for Cesar Cedeno, and the veteran really responded, playing a big role in the Cardinals' trip to the series. Tonight, though, the Cards say they're going to let Cedeno test the free agent market. Cedeno really coming alive for St. Louis in September, delivering some timely hitting for the Cards late in the regular season. Cedeno is 35, and he carries a .286 lifetime batting average into this season. The Cardinals also, as expected today, announcing they would not offer a contract catcher Darryl Porter or utility man Mike Jorgensen. And that is it for this latest edition of Prism Sports Tonight. I'm Mark Zumoff. More for you, time permitting, of course, during our post-game segment. Right now, after 2 periods here at the Spectrum, Flyers leading 4-1. Looking back at that second period, including a couple of really nice goals, let's go back to Ed Van Impe and Bobby Taylor.
You're right on that count, Mark. It was a couple of nice goals, and I'll tell you, what a 20-minute period Ronnie Sutter had for Philadelphia. It appeared like he was just going to make sure the Flyers were going to win. Well, he picked up the team on his shoulders and scored a goal and scored an assist, and the Flyers only got 2 goals in that period, Bobby. And the first goal by Sutter was really an important one because it gave the Flyers that 3-1 lead, and you always like to have that cushion, that 2-goal cushion. That's exactly what he did. Then he set up the next goal. So he just personifies the work ethic. He just gets in there and just makes things happen. when he's out there, believe you know that he's right on your tail, and it's exactly what happened. He stripped Bannerman of the puck, and he just come run around from behind the net and put it in. But on that play there, you can't have both defensemen and your goaltender in behind the net. If you do, someone's got to tell the goaltender somebody's right on him. He does not hear anything. He handles the puck, and Sutter just kind of overpowers and comes around the backhand, just stuffs it in. That was Sutter's second goal of the season, and also is a big one for the Flyers.
You know, maybe that is the type of play that when we asked Daryl Sutter and you ask people why this hockey club is not doing better, it just seems like they're not thinking out there.
Well, I'll tell you that you talk about the physical aspect of the game, and you hear an awful lot about the mental aspect, and I think they're almost 50-50. If you're in shape and your head's working, you know, you're ready to perform up in the ice, and if you're not ready mentally as in that play like that they just Sutter's play anyway in that goal, you've got to communicate with your goaltender. Instead of both defensemen being behind the net, one of the defensemen should be yelling at the goaltender. He's right on you, out in front of the net. If you don't communicate, you know, goals like that go in. You can't give up soft goals like that. If you do, you're not going to win too many hockey games.
Well, we talked about the power play, and it's starting to get a lot better over the last couple of games, and the Flyers have worked it quite well in tonight's game. In fact, Howe and Poulin almost connected.
Well, I'll tell you that the success, I guess, for power plays is they're going to make that big play, and that's exactly what the Flyers are doing. You got the quarterback here now. Howe's got the puck. He moves up ice, crosses the blue line as they're backing in, is able to control the puck, get it across, and all of a sudden, Davey Poulin's moving into the side, tries to come up in front of the net, but Bannerman was able to stay there and make that, not the save, but Poulin shot wide. But again, the whole play developed with the quarterback, Howe, making the play happen, but Poulin, with a great set of wheels going around the outside, was almost there to capitalize.
That's what that speed will do for you. If you collapse in that middle, that leaves the winger wide open.
It makes it an awful lot easier. The whole game of hockey, I think, you just skate, the better you skate, the easier the game.
Flyers are getting their work going again in the second period, and they've really took a commanding lead in the shot totals. I believe 27-12, the totals after 2 periods. But plays like we just witnessed with Mark Howe and Dave Poulin, Howe, again, puts the Flyers up. But this time, Ronnie Sutter makes the play. And, boy, what a play.
Boy, I'll tell you, it's a beauty. You're just going to use in your annual highlights. He just moves to the inside. He's hanging on. Here comes Howe. He just drops it around, shields the Hawk with his body. All of a sudden, Howe's 1-on-1. Makes the fake, frees the goaltender, goes to the forehand, wide open net to give the Flyers the 4-1 lead.
Let's go up now to Gene Hart in a scoring summary.
And the numbers again. Brown gave the Hawks the lead early on. Eklund and Kerr giving Philadelphia 2-1 lead after 1. Then, as Bobby and Eddie described, Ron Sutter unassisted at 6:06 his second. Howe from Ron Sutter his third at 9:57. 4-1 Philadelphia, 27-12 the shot for the Flyers. The penalties are even at 4, and a penalty to Brad Marsh is 1:34 to run into the third period. The other game, Boston on a first period goal by Dave Pastine, one in the second by Kenny Linsman, lead the Hartford Whalers going into the third period 2-0 as Bob Myers, the referee, looks on with his cohorts Wayne Bonney and Ron Asselstein. Bruins will be in here Saturday night at 7:30, and a week from tonight at 7:30, it'll be the Edmonton Oilers. Tickets remain available for all Flyer home games, including this Saturday's bash with the Bruins. You can get them here at the Spectrum, all showcase stores, or Ticketron outlets throughout the Delaware Valley. Flyers will be defending left or right with the Hawks behind their own net, and they've got to come up with offense. Doug Wilson out there along with Bob Murray and Secord, Larmer, and Savard. Hawks flip it in. They go against Propp, Poulin, and Kerr with McCrimmon and Howe. Puck behind the Philadelphia net. Cutting in is Doug Wilson, but McCrimmon does a nice job of blocking off Savard's pass out from the area behind Lindbergh, and the deflected pass itself becomes tied up in the Flyer defensive right wing corner. Flyers who trail the Hawks in the Lifetime Series. And we mentioned Ron Asselstein. Well, tonight he marks his 500th NHL game as a linesman, and we salute him. 500 anything is a challenge. Ron Asselstein. Flyers get it at the left side, and Propp just backhands it up the ice, gathered in by Murray. Controls the rolling puck at his own right boards and gets it up through to Steve Larmer. Trying to headman Savard as the Hawks have to think big play as they trail by 3. And as they hit the Flyer line with a little bit of rough play there, we have an offside called against Chicago. With 53 seconds remaining on the Marsh penalty, we have Lysiak, Sutter, Troy Murray with Ben Wilson and Keith Brown, the unit for the Blackhawks. Flyers will go Propp, Poulin along with McCrimmon and Howe. Boy, you certainly look different coming up one flight than you did last year when you had to go up 9.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, believe me. If we had to keep going up there, we were going to put an oxygen tent in the top.
Used to sound like the backup group for a rock singer. Hoo-ha, hoo-ha, hoo-ha. Puck cleared all the way down the ice as the Hawks cannot maintain pressure, and Ben Wilson, who assisted on the Chicago goal way back at 1:09 of the first period. Chicago's only lead of the night as they trail 4-1. Play jammed up at center. Wilson comes through along with Darryl Sutter going for the net. They feed Brown. His shot on. Trying to rebound it himself. It's picked off instead by the Hawks. Darryl Sutter behind the net. It's cleared to the point and dumped toward Lindbergh. Hits Darryl Sutter. He takes it in the offensive left corner. Rubbed out. Troy Murray in there along with Sinisala. The 4 battle. Out of that corner comes Darryl Sutter. He's behind the Flyer net. Comes back to the near side and a pass to Keith Brown. Fakes the shot. Goes instead to Lysiak. Top of the right circle. Into the corner. Harassed all the way in by Poulos. Penalty over, and out of the box comes Marsh. As going in is Wilson. His shot rebounded in front by Lysiak. And his shot smothered as diving across in front of the line of the shot was Brad McCrimmon as the team's at full strength. Hawks trying to maintain pressure, and finally Marsh gets it up to Sinisalo. 1 and 2 at the Chicago line. Has nowhere to go. Rolls it off on a drop pass to Erickson coming off the Flyer bench along with Eklund, Crosman, Derek Smith, and Timmy Kerr. Hawks try to clear out along the left side. Crosman keeps it in. Kerr in front. Derek Smith tries to put it in front for Eklund coming out of the left wing corner. It's blocked. In front, Derek Smith a shot. Not too far in at the goal line to the left of Bannerman. Had his shot smothered by Troy Murray, and the Hawks shoot it all the way down and will have an icing. 2:22 gone. Third period, a break in the action. It's 4-1 Philadelphia.
Well, 17,211 and a sellout for the Flyers, and I think everybody's starting to pick up on the great start that this young club has had. A lot of happy fans here, and I'll tell you, when you get this good start, it not only captures the imagination of your hometown fans, but then everybody around the league starts to pay attention.
Kerr, Eklund, and Derek Smith with Erickson and Crosman offensive right circle face-off. Lysiak out along with Olchuk and Frazier. O'Callahan with Doug Wilson. Puck goes back to Thomas Erickson. Rolls it around behind the Chicago net. It's up for grabs there, and it's picked up by Jack O'Callahan. He wheels it around to the near side, and Frazier for Chicago will come out on the right side unchallenged. Through to Lysiak, beaten to the puck at the Flyer line by Doug Crossman, taken back by Frazier. Drops it up the middle, Olchuk to Frazier, and he's in front. Had a chance to go right in at point-blank range and couldn't control, and the Flyers break back at center ice. Kerr at the line. Swept off the stick nicely by Doug Wilson, and it's played by O'Callahan. The Lysiak it up on the left side for Frazier. Cannot get by Eklund. Rolls it through beautifully for Kerr. He overskates. Takes it in the zone with Derek Smith. He tries to drag it through Bob Murray. Murray sweeps it away, and it's picked up by defensive partner Jerome Dupont of the Hawks. So 3 penalties tonight. Really hurt the Hawks when they were leading 1-0. It resulted in 1 power play goal, 1 near power play goal, and his penalty in the second period wound up maybe costing the Hawks another one. All right, as the puck is shot from center ice, it goes up into the end seats behind Lindbergh. 3:24 gone, third period, 4-1 Philadelphia.
Perfect field goal, and right between the uprights, that shot. Right over top of the goal if the goalpost had been projected upwards. Dennis Savard, we've talked an awful lot about that young player, Eddie, and there's an awful lot of respect for his abilities when he has them going, but he has not had them going tonight.
We've talked about him. He can skate, he can handle the puck, he can score goals, he can really put it all together.
One of our producers, J.P. McVicker, gave me some interesting stats, though the face-off differential is not really marginal. It's 24-22 for Chicago. Timmy Kerr is 10 out of 13, and he was 9 for 9 in the second period. The only one of any of the face-off men tonight doing any dominance. Now the Hawks are called for icing. Timmy Kerr again, 10 out of 13 and 9 for 9 in the second period. What doesn't he do?
Well, he hasn't had a chance to kill penalties yet either, although he's done it a couple of times in the preseason.
You know, right now the Hawks are dumped out of their own zone, and they're down by 3 goals. You think to be thinking attack and get down in the Flyers' zone, but they're content when the Flyers are putting the pressure
on the Blackhawks just to get it out when they have to ice it or get it out to the neutral zone. Just take the pressure off. But they need 3 more to get back into this thing.
You know, they didn't change that assist from Erickson to Prop. Now Howe right out in front. Whistle shot. Scores! Short side. And Howe has 2 goals tonight, and it's 5-1.
Boy, you talk about defensemen. Well, they really know what to do when they get around that net.
I'll tell you, that one sure does. Of course, he's a converted forward, but the draw, Ron Sutter wins again. He just kicks it back. The odd part about it is nobody took Howe's body. He just walked around. And a lot of times, goaltenders will make the mistake of lining up with the body instead of the puck. And it appeared that Batterman did. He gave him a little bit too much room on the short side with Howe being that left-handed shot. That's where he put it, and the Flyers have a 5-1 lead. Howe's second goal of the game, his 4th of the season. Ronnie Sutter will pick up the lone assist, I would believe.
I'm looking back the last time he had a 2-goal game. Didn't have any last year. His last 2-goal game came at Hartford on February 25th, 1984. And I'm looking, I don't know if he's had one ever here at the Spectrum as the Flyers lead by a solid 4-goal margin. Well, how's that for a little trivia? That's Mark Howe's first ever 2-goal game at the Spectrum. Flyers have doubled up shots. It's 28-14. But there again, we talked early in the game, Eddie and Bobby, about the goaltending of Skordensky and Bannerman and Sauvé, and the Hawks are giving up 5 a game, and the only one team in the league that can overcome that kind of problem, that's Edmonton. And Rich Sutter's short side shot, he's buried by Ben Wilson, but even then Bannerman appeared to give Sutter a little bit of the short side. On the far side, the Flyers keep it in. Ron Sutter is hit the midship by Keith Brown, taken out of the play, as Ben Wilson reels it around to his own right corner for Steve Larmer. Nice move past Ron Sutter, and Larmer outlets left side for Secor to center ice. At the Flyer line, shovels it past Thomas Eriksson and pursues, but Thomas Eriksson wheels it around to his own defensive left side to Prop. Prop tied up by the forechecking of Callahan. Centering pass deflected away, and out comes Craven along with Brown. Thomas Eriksson is the 4th-man trailer. Brown couldn't handle it. Thomas Eriksson flips offensive right corner to Craven. Craven leaves it off for Brown in front, and it just shoveled through the goal mount by Brian Prop. Hawks come back on the right side at center. O'Callahan shoots wide of Lindbergh. Taken in the left wing corner by Frazier. In front, trying to find Lysiak. Flyers have it in there. They battle for it, and out of that melee comes Thomas Eriksson gamely. But then Frazier forechecks to take it away to Lysiak in front. Centering pass goes aimlessly to far boards, and it's sent up the Prop by Dave Brown. And a rink-wide pass will be gathered in off the left board carom at center by Marsh, and he wheels it in around behind the Chicago net. Jack O'Callahan is forechecked by Craven. Gets it to Doug Wilson. He almost has it stripped by Prop, but fires it up the center. Nice play by Lysiak to tip it forward through the Olchek, and a drive on the drop pass to Frazier. Whistles in on Lindbergh, and he makes the stop. The 6:08 on 3rd period. A break in the action at 5-1 Philadelphia.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the few tough ones he's had in the last 2 periods, Pelle Lindbergh. 5-1 Philadelphia leads, 13:52 the time. Left to play in this 3rd period. 29-15 shots on goal in favor of Philadelphia. Chicago's had 3 in this 2nd period to Philadelphia's 2.
Flyers back here on Saturday night. Boston Bruins at 7:30. Tickets are available. You know, when you consider the Flyers lost 1 game when they had a 3-0 lead and lost the other when they outshot the opposition 44-13, and they're 10-2. Back to the point, shot wide by Jerome Dupont, and Derek Smith blocks the return try by Bob Murray. It kicks back to Dupont at the Chicago line. He has to go in deep away from the forechecking of Poulin, who steals it away. In front, he had Kerr there and then missed the puck. And the Hawks take it away and roll it around far boards all the way down into the Philadelphia end. As Hospodar making his first appearance in the 3rd period. Rolls it up on his right side, taken away by Dupont. Gets it in front, and it's taken away and shot by Bob Murray, back by the Hawks behind the Philadelphia net. Centering it set, and Doug Crossman does a nice job of smothering that to Kerr. And he just whacks this past the on-charging Jerome DuPont up on the far boards and into the Chicago end. Play at center ice. Nice drop pass to Frazier. He's got Murray on his right side over the line. Top of the right circle, in front. And right there was Philadelphia's McCrimmon. And here come the Flyers. Kerr with Derek Smith, 2-on-1. Kerr is hooked all the way in. To McCrimmon with a drive. And Bannerman kept that one out nicely. And we have Bob Myers spun around in the Chicago zone and did 2 loops and a turn. And gets up with a lot of snow on his derriere. And a little bit of...
I think Timmy Kerr ran into
I didn't want
Bob
to say
Myers
that.
as they were trying to come out. And Myers ended up on the bottom of it.
Well, if the people were here in the spectrum were looking for something to cheer for or about, Bob Myers gave it to them, and they took advantage of it. Flyers lead the Blackhawks 5-1 with 12 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. That's going to be a little bit embarrassing for a referee.
I know, you can see him just laughing about it now as he's bent over, and you could bet that Vasselstein and Monty are going to be giving him the business after the game's over.
Scramble in the Flyers' defensive right circle. Kicks back to Wilson. A shot wide. Caroms off the backside of the Flyer net to Ron Sutter. Tries to get it up to Lindsey Carson and away through to Rick Sutter at center ice with McCrimmon on his right. Over the line, in along the right side. McCrimmon wanted to find Carson, but he was tripped up by Yaremchuk, got late to the slot. Now he fires his way along the right boards to control the puck. In there with Savard. They battle. Lindsey Carson gets it behind the net. Rick Sutter is wrapped up by Keith Brown. Ben Wilson tries to size the puck free to no avail and get some huzzas for that abortive attempt.
Yeah, he would have been pretty tough to get the puck free of that shot because he had to stick up around the knees. The puck was on the ice.
Ben must feel right at home here. The fans are giving the raspberries as a Chicago Blackhawk, and when he was a Flyer, he got brought up here. So let's welcome home Ben Wilson.
Thought you'd like to know that McCrimmon and Howe came into tonight by far and away the best pluses in the league at 16 are both +4 tonight, so they go up to 20. As they used to say in the old days, tain't bad, McGee. Nice move by Ben Wilson, past checking Sinisalo. Ben up the middle, at the Flyer line, and offside to his right is Kenya Remchuk. 11:55 remaining, third period, 5-1 Philadelphia. There's a break in the action.
That rush by Ben Wilson was a dandy coming out of his own zone, except when he got to the blue line, the Flyers had back checkers. The defenseman stood up and challenged. He made that one extra dipsy-doodle, and as a result, the offside was called, and the face-off will be taken out in the neutral zone.
Ben still lives in the Philadelphia suburbs in the off-season. Comes back after every season from Chicago.
Gentlemen, have we mentioned it all tonight? Have we mentioned all tonight the unique situation in title terminology with the Hawks? That Bobby Pulford is the general manager, but he and Roger Nielsen are technically listed as co-coaches?
Right, co-coaches.
We've never had that in the NHL, have we?
Not to my recollection.
Flyers attacking right wing corner. Rich Sutter as Ron is dumped. Wheels it around to the left wing corner. Then Ron is mugged by Jack O'Callahan. As up ice on the right wing comes Troy Murray along with Larmer and Secord. Puck cleared behind Lindbergh. He winds it up on the near side. As the Hawks now are showing frustration, are starting to do a little mugging. Here's the centering pass shot. And Lindbergh covered the right side, even though he was going right to left, on a shot by Troy Murray that almost found the corner. But all of a sudden, rather than trying to come to life, the Hawks are venting their spleen. Doug Wilson from center ice with that cannon shot of his. Lindbergh eats that up, and all that becomes not a legitimate scoring gesture, but merely a number on the statistical column. The Flyers have Propp coming off the bench. He's out there with Craven and Dave Brown. Defensively, Marsh comes on now with Thomas Erickson. Flyers forechecking, but the puck kicks up on the Chicago left side to Troy Murray from Secord. Very interesting that with Larmer and Secord, Troy Murray's out there and not Vinny Savard. Flyers penetrate, Propp into the near side to Craven. Short side shot from an angle deep off on the left wing is wide. And the Hawks, Secord takes it, wheels in front, tries a pass. It's blocked by the forechecking Brian Propp. But the Hawks get it to center, but a pass too far for Bob Murray. Nonetheless, takes it, shoots in from inside the blue line, wide to the left of Lindbergh. Rebound taken by Dave Brown, and he goes from his blue line into the Chicago zone, where it's gathered in by the Hawks, Keith Brown from Ben Wilson. Left wing pass at the Flyer line. Lysiak on the give and go into the left wing corner to Fraser. Stuffer! And he just had the bad angle as he shot through parallel to the goal line and really didn't have much of an angle to put that home. Flyers then ice it, and that's what the call will be as Keith Brown of Chicago catches up. 9:49 remaining, third period, 5-1 Philadelphia.
You know, Flyer defenseman Doug Crossman and a cohort of ours, Steve Coates, will conduct a hockey clinic on Monday, November the 11th at the Coliseum in Voorhees, New Jersey. If you want more information, give Hockey Central a call. Their number, 215-389-9434. That number again for Hockey Central, 215-389-9434. The hockey clinic on Monday, November the 11th. That's the Coliseum. Doug Crossman and Steve Coates.
Coates, going to teach how to fall down in the breakaway. Up, we have a penalty. Nope, we're going to have an icing. As the hand that went up was the linesman for the icing and not the referee for the hook by Ben Wilson against Poulin. 9:38 remaining, third period, 5-1 Philadelphia. There's a break in the action.
That was a pretty good attempt at a dive by Dave Poulin, but it didn't work out at all as Bob Myers was right on top of the play, and Ben Wilson didn't really hook him bad enough.
Gentlemen, I don't want to belabor it, but it was so obvious that it seemed Brian Propp tipped the shot in on net in the first period that Eklund rebounded for the score, but they haven't changed that assist yet.
Well, they looked at replays, only they're looking at the one from behind the net, not from the front of the net, so that's why.
At the Spectrum, Gene Hart along with Eddie Van Impe and Bobby Taylor, 5-1 Philadelphia. They've been in command since they scored twice late in the first period, after the Hawks have picked up their only goal at 1:09 of the opening session. 5-1. Chicago has been outshot 30-17. The Flyers have only had 3 shots in this period to Chicago's 5, but they've been very content just to make sure that lead doesn't shrink at all. Play into the zone. Derek Smith, the backhander, as Tom Lysiak grabs him. Now Poulin into that offensive right corner. Lysiak in there with Keith Brown for Chicago, Derek Smith, and Davey Poulin for Chicago. Poulin is tackled, and the Hawks wheel it up to Olczyk on the right side. Wants outlet. Crosman in front, a shot. It's up for grabs. Score! Timmy Kerr.
Well, Brown was right there, but he was just no match for Timmy Kerr. Timmy Kerr picks up his 13th goal of the season, the second of the night. The shot was taken by Crossman. He's right there. There's Brown. He's all over Kerr. Just doesn't move him out of the way. And if you let him stand there, he's going to jam it home, as he's done so many, many times. And Timmy Kerr does it for the second time again tonight, and the 13th time of the year. Brown was in position to make the play, just could not hold him, as Kerr got a stick down on the ice to beat goaltender Bannerman.
Mike Patterson up through at the Flyer line, trying to cut on his Mark Bergeron. And Bergevin is pulled down, and we're going to have a Flyer penalty.
Well, this time the dive worked.
Power play coming up, 8:51 remaining, third period, 6-1 Philadelphia with a break in the action.
Bergevin going through the middle, and he wasn't going to pick up the puck, and this time, there's the dive. Boy, a perfect 8.8. And it worked this time on Bob Myers. Poulin's dive didn't work this time. Bergevin's did, but nonetheless, Chicago will get their 5th power play opportunity. Marsh picks up that hooking call, and it comes at 11:09.
Doug Crossman, Dave Poulin. Flyers penalty. Number 8.
While the assists on Kerr's 13th of the year, Doug Crossman, Dave Poulin, 10:57 the time, and 11:09 the time on Marsh's hooking minor.
The Flyers now have 5 of the game's 9 penalties. This is the first one called in the third. Marsh has 3, the last 3 called against Philadelphia. He now has 44 minutes on the air. The Hawks, on their 4th power play opportunity, are 0 for 3 on the night and 1 for 8 in 2 games against Philadelphia. These teams will meet once again as we check into our schedule. And that game is scheduled for Chicago on February the 9th on a Sunday.
You know, you look at Timmy Kerr's goals this season, 13 of them. I think the longest one is about 10, 12 feet.
All the other guys are getting hammered and pillars
Yeah, I know.
and diving and flashing. He just stands there, boop. Puck goes down around behind the Philadelphia net. Howe was out there along with McCrimmon, Poulin, and Trop. Flyers try to wheel it out. McCrimmon fans, and it goes back to Doug Wilson at the point. His shot blocked, and there's Poulin to wrist it all the way down. 6-1 Philadelphia. This has been by far their most lopsided controlled win. 7-3. Previous 4 goals was their biggest margin, but no doubt in this game at all after the first period. Behind the Philadelphia net, Troy Murray digs it out. Flyers have Sinisalo, Eklund along with Howe and McCrimmon. With the puck, Troy Murray, offensive left circle at the dot. Top of the circle, hold. Behind the net, there's Savard. Back to Troy Murray. They've got Larmer in the deep slot with Bob Murray, the defenseman, right in at the side of the net. Savard trying to find an opening. Here it goes to Wilson. He fires off the side of the net. And the deep rebound up ice, and Sinisalo in a foot race. He's got a man with him, Larmer, who just takes him off the puck with Eklund as the trailer. Now, Sinisalo's being held by Larmer behind the play as Savard comes up against Crosman at center ice. Drop pass, Eklund takes it away and sends it down the ice. Ron Sutter now comes out along with Rich Sutter, Crosman, and Erickson, and the Hawks have Larmer on with Savard, Secord, Olczyk, and Frazier. As they go 5 forwards now, as well they might. Centering pass, score! I think that went off a Flyer stick, unless it was Frazier who got a piece of it.
It looked like it went off Ron Sutter's stick. The centering pass from Brown was put right up front, but it almost appears that Sutter was eventually knocked it in. Unless it went off the skate of Kurt Frazier and stick at the same time. Nonetheless, it counts, and the Flyers have given up the power play goal, and the Hawks have their second. Time of that goal will be 12:58. No, it did go off Ron Sutter's skate. Yeah. Kurt Frazier did not hit that puck. So, because Frazier was the closest man to the puck, he'll be credited with the goal, and Keith Brown will pick up the assist. Unless they change that for Keith Brown's goal.
Like it might have got a little piece of Frazier's stick and then caromed off Ron Sutter in it. Well, Sutter's had a big night. He's even been a part of the Chicago goal. 6-2 the score now. And the Flyers have enough pride in their defense. They don't like to give up anything. Poulin along the right side falls, and he's taken away by Jerome Dupont as out comes Bergevin, along with Rick Patterson and Keith Brown. The Flyers break it up at center ice, and here comes Kerr back down that right side. Into the corner, pivots against Bergevin, kicks the puck free to the point. Thomas Erickson in, shot, and Bannerman got that one off the stick as it was ripped right in on the net despite a bouncing puck shot at by Erickson. Now Gardner penetrates, can't find Bergevin with the pass as the Flyers control out of their own right wing corner. Bergevin was listed as a defenseman, but has some deficiencies there, so they use him, if necessary, at the wing. Tonight it's been necessary. Howe with 2 goals. First 2-goal game by my record at the Spectrum. In along to Lara Carson, his shot, and it's kicked back right to Carson by Bannerman, and then shot from the right side through the goal mouth by Carson. The Hawks take it off and ice it, and we'll get the routine stoppage of play as it's trailed in by Brad McCrimmon. With 5:41 remaining third period, Flyers 6 and Chicago 2. Flyers back here on Saturday night at 7:30 with Boston, and next on Prism, 1 week from tonight at 7:30, only appearance of the year, the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, that Boston club is coming in here Saturday night. It leads Hartford 2-0 in the third period of play. That's being played in the Boston Garden. And it's 6-2 Philadelphia here.
Thanks to Earth Satellite, I've seen a few Bruin games, Bobby, and I mentioned to you it's as good a skating club as Boston has had in some time. They're using Middleton with this young Nienhuis and Peterson, and of course Simmer. There's a stoppage of play. Simmer along with Lynchman and Keith Crowder. They're getting effective use from their 2 big lines.
A hand pass has been called, so the face-off will be taken outside the Chicago blue line.
All right, they've had an assist on Howe's goal in this period. It comes from Ron Sutter and Lindsey Carson. Howe getting the goal. And And Brian Propp has a 9-game scoring streak up for grabs because an assist that he apparently, or obviously, had on the first Flyer goal has not been credited. Howe keeps it outside the line, waits for Carson to come out and out-penetrate. Almost got in, looking for the hat trick. The only hat trick ever by a Flyer defenseman came here in '77 in December by Tommy Bladen, who had 4, plus 4 assists, for still a National Hockey League record for points in a game by a defenseman at 8. Here comes Howe back along with Carson. He's up the middle. He's there. Look, the open net. He went too far beyond. Now it's Suffer. Oh, and where is it? And he almost picked it up on just a superbly beautiful play to watch.
Boy, I'll tell you, those defensemen can make it look easy, as Mark Howe just did.
4:59 remaining third period. 6-2 Philadelphia with a break in the action.
Well, I'll tell you, all he did was show a great patience. He just kept going and going and going with that puck, and O'Callahan left his feet, which enabled Howe to go wide, and he almost got that Suffer. Murray Bannerman very, very quickly, though, got that left skate over there to get the save, and the rebound came right out in front. But O'Callahan off his feet, and Howe just keeping in control of that puck, keeping that puck.
You can
right
skate, Bobby. Isn't it easy? It's a lot easier, isn't it?
Wow, he's able to cut so quickly as well. 6-2, Philadelphia leads. 4:59 left in this third period. Boy, what a game Howe's had. He, Ronnie Sutter.
Right, Philadelphia with Propp, Dave Brown centered by Craven, along with Erickson and Marsh. Lysiak is out, along with Frazier and Olczyk. Marsh from the point, and Bannerman reached low to the left, grabbed that one, played off to Jerome Dupont, as on with Keith Brown. As up ice, Frazier stopped the neutral zone. Propp's line pass up the slot looking for Craven, taken away by Chicago. Lysiak and Keith Brown over the line, into the right wing corner. Center is in front, and the Flyers' Lindbergh, along with defenseman of the Flyers, got the stick away. Brad Marsh, and deflected it into the end seat. 4:40 remaining, 6-2 Philadelphia.
One thing that always has entertained me watching Tom Lysiak play over the 13 years he's been in the league is that he does a lot of tricks and moves with his puck back to the skates and back up to the stick. And the thing is that you'll see a lot of guys do that in practice, but they won't have the courage to try it in the game. Tommy Lysiak does, and he just almost made that perfect move to go around Brad Marsh. But I think Marsh...
I think it works. It works easier, Bobby, in practice than in the game. But exactly what he tried to do is beat Brad Marsh with that play. But I wouldn't want to use it in the game too often.
Well, nobody tries it. That's what I like about him. He does try.
Propp into the zone. Flyers contain. Craven into the slot. Propp goes back to the point. Drive by Erickson. Catches a bit of a Chicago stick, Keith Brown, and butterflies up into the corner seats with 4:26 remaining. 6-2 Philadelphia. Gentlemen, before the post-game review, the most impressive thing by Philadelphia this evening.
Their ability to come back, Gene, when they really weren't at the top of their game in the first period. And it looked like they might have been tired not only physically but mentally as well after having that big game against the Rangers last night. And yet a couple of players have come through for them and lifted them up by their skate straps.
While sometimes statistics tell you that the Flyers have to count on 2 or 3 players to score, the truth belies that because so many games, game after game, different players pick up. Frazier up on the left side to Olczyk. As this line has been pretty well contained, Flyers just chip it out, and that ought to be an icing if it misses Bannerman, and it does. After it is Troy Murray, and we get the stoppage of play. 3:56 left. Flyer goal scorers: Timmy Kerr a pair, Mark Howe a pair, Ron Sutter and Tully Eklund, Keith Brown and Kurt Frazier for the Chicago Blackhawks.
In the second and the third period, the Flyers have pretty well had things their own way. They've grabbed control of the game in those 2 periods and really have the Hawks in trouble now. Ahead 6-2, and Mark Howe is one of the players that have been a big factor in tonight's game, picking up 2 goals and an assist.
They've limited to the Blackhawks to 6 shots a period. 6 to first, 6 to second, and here with 3:56 remaining in the third, they've only managed 6 shots. That's playing impressive team defense when you do that.
Secord, Larmer, Savard, they win the draw. Back to Doug Wilson, right side to Murray. He keeps it in, or make that O'Callahan. Then Secord can't handle the light pass, and Philadelphia gets it to Carson from McCrimmon at center ice. Carson on with Rich and Ron Sutter. Carson loses the puck, and up ice comes Chicago. Troy Murray tries to headman Steve Larmer. It rolls deep along the near side of the Flyer zone, where Rich Sutter gets it to Carson, and he bangs it down the ice. Gathered in at his own right circle. Doug Wilson outlets, and it hits Ron Sutter into the offensive left corner. Sutter is taken down by Doug Wilson behind the Chicago net. And the Hawks outlet down that left side. McCrimmon gamble. He's beaten Troy Murray over the line against Howe. Goes around behind the net. Cannot control the puck. There's Larmer playing it to the near side. Murray to Secord. In front. They scramble and the Flyers dig it out. As we approach 3 minutes to play in the game, Ron Sutter flips offensive right corner. Off there is Flynn in the Sallow. And just as he went to take the forehand shot on that carom, Ben Wilson dove and poked the puck free, or make that Dupont did it on a lovely cover-up defensive job. When it appeared Sinisalo, who's a real sniper, had a chance to pick a corner. Up ice comes Philadelphia. Eklund, who has scored in consecutive games now, gets into the zone. Look out! He's there with a shot. And Bannerman made the save, as there wasn't a whole lot of steam on that effort. Eklund in the corner behind the net to Craven. Bannerman goes behind to try to snake the puck free. Larmer has it as Brown has a grab on Craven. And up ice comes Rick Patterson for Chicago. Chris crosses what Mark Bergevin on with Billy Gardner. Puck is knocked down, kept in by Bergevin. Rink-wide pass right under the stick of Pelle Eklund. His one pass is blocked, but the second time it comes to center ice. So the Flyers had a moderately short letdown after last night's scintillating and tough effort against the Rangers. Lasted 15 minutes. They scored twice to take the lead and scored 6 straight before Chicago was able to answer back here with a minimally important power play goal late in the third period. 1:56 left, 6-2 Philadelphia.
Bergevin, young defenseman, only in his second year, just 20 years of age, out of Chicoutimi. Here's a player that surprised the Hawks brass at training camp. They didn't expect him to jump right in. He still was eligible to play junior hockey, and they figured he'd come and get some experience at training camp, then go back to Chicoutimi. Well, he played so well that they kept him with the big club, and he's here for his second campaign.
All right, Patterson, Gardner, Bergevin for Chicago with O'Callaghan and Doug Wilson. The Flyers with Howe and McCrimmon. They'll make that Howe and Eric zone. No, excuse me. Yeah, Howe and Erickson along with Marsh. That's what's confusing. Flyers have 3 defensemen out there. Could they be playing one on the wing? Mark Howe?
Howe's up there going for the hat trick.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's Marsh along with Howe. Howe gets picked on his winger play, and the Hawks try to keep it in. Here comes Mark Howe up along with Poulin and Kerr. Howe up the middle, over the line, drops to Kerr. He's got propped right on into Howe on a beautiful tic-tac-toe, and he just couldn't handle it as he was checked at the last moment. Now Doug Wilson takes out his man. Howe along the near side. Look at Callahan keeping Kerr out in front. Howe in front! Tried to do a turnaround, and finally Billy Gardner got enough of his shoulder in to take him off. So a little bit of excitement there in a game that the Flyers control. Drop pass into Bergevin toward the net. Lindbergh has it steered away near side by Erickson. And up ice the Flyers come. Derek Smith in center. They get away by Billy Gardner. He'll come back for Chicago. So the Flyers are close to making it 2 for 2 against the Hawks. Lindbergh will now win his 4th in a row, and the Flyers are heading for 9-0. Team record 11 that was set last year. And the Flyers with this, folks, going back to the last 17 games of last regular season, have now won 27 of their last 30 regular season games. Over the line comes Yaremchuk on the steal. Loses it. It's gained back by Darryl Sutter. Straight away to the point to Keith Brown. His shot on the net. Nice kick save by Lindbergh. And Crossman is able to poke check it in center ice with 30 seconds left in regulation. Ron Sutter has had a big night. Shoots from the top of the right circle as he penetrates the Chicago zone. Off the stick and up into the end seats. Off the stick of Jerome Dupont. So Kerr with a pair, Howe with a pair, and Ron Sutter with a goal and 2 assists. And the Flyers play at both ends of the ice again, very scintillating as they allow Chicago nothing at the time when the game was up for grabs. Back in Viking satellite. Picture being picked up by the Sutter family, so they see Rich, Ron, and Darryl. That goes on Sports Vision out of Chicago. And that is handled by former Vancouver draft Dale Callan and play-by-play voice of the Blackhawks, Pat Foley. Flyers have it, and we're just killing out the remaining 17 seconds of this one. The Flyers will make it 11-2 and 9 in a row. Yaremchuk into the slot. Howe takes it off. 10 seconds left. And Howe outlets up on center ice for Kerr. Boldrin with a chance at a hat trick. But not anymore as Savard takes it away. 1 second. No second, and the game is over. And the Philadelphia Flyers have made it 9 straight, 2 for 2 against Chicago this year as they bury the Hawks 6-2. The stats from the last period: Howe is 4th from Ron Sutter and Carson at 350. Kerr is 13th from Crosman and Poulin at 1057. Then Frazier is 9th from Brown on the power play with Brad Marsh off at 12:58. Shots in the final period: the Flyers had 10, a game total of 37. The Hawks had 8, a game total of 20. There were 9 penalties in the game, 5 of them to Philadelphia. Chicago 1 for 5 on the advantage, and the Flyers 1 for 4. Those are all the statistics. The Flyers now 11-2 with the best record in hockey. Next to Edmonton 10, 2-1, and the Flyers now open a 6-point lead over Washington with a game in hand on the Caps. So those are all the numbers, and we'll just wait now to go down to Lou Nolan with tonight's 3 stars. But we'll tell you before that happens, Flyers back here 7:30 on Saturday night with Boston, and a week from tonight at 7:30 on our next Prism game with the Edmonton Oilers. Now to Lou Nolan and tonight's 3 stars.
This evening's 3-star selection is made by Mark Wicker, sports writer for the Daily News. Star number 3 for the Flyers, Tim Kerr. Tonight's 2nd star, also a Flyer, Mark Howe. And the 1st star of this evening's game for the Flyers, Ron Sutter.
Not really hard to pick that trio out. Ron Sutter number 1, Howe number 2, and Kerr number 3. And we'll be back with Bobby's post-game guest after we pause for this.
Beware the moonlights.
Stay on the road.
Thank you. Beware the moon and stick to the road. Oops.
Sounds far away. Not far enough. Come on. Jack. What? Where are we going? I don't know. I'll tell you when we get there. Okay, 'cause... You really scared me.
But if he survived an attack by a werewolf, wouldn't he himself become a werewolf at the next full moon?
There's something going on out there.
There's something wrong with this place.
David Naughton.
My friend Jack was just here.
Jenny Agutter.
Your dead friend, Jack.
Yes.
An American werewolf in London.
Flyers fans, here's an opportunity you won't want to miss. Now you can subscribe to the Flyers' very own game publication, the Philadelphia Flyer. That's right. Get 20 great issues of the Flyer magazine, the very same one that's sold at the games, delivered to your door for just $32.50. That's a savings of more than 20% off the cover price. Each issue is loaded with stories and photos of your favorite Flyers and NHL stars like Wayne Gretzky. To order, send check or money order to Flyer Magazine, The Spectrum, Philadelphia 19148. And here's a special offer just for you Prism viewers. Subscribe to the Flyers magazine now and get free the brand new 1985-86 Flyers calendar filled with beautiful color photos of the Flyers in action.
At Cherryville Academy for Women, girls learn how to become young ladies. At Fremont Academy for Men, boys are expected to mature. So what's all the commotion about? Sex has just been added to the curriculum. Phoebe Cates heads the cast in a music-filled, fun-filled look at what really goes on at private schools.
Give me the case.
Give it to him.
You got it.
Take a street-smart cop and a wise guy private eye. Then take cover.
Does anybody knock anymore?
These guys used to work together. Now they just get in each other's way.
We did all right, huh? What a team.
It's Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood in their first film together. City Heat.
You said you defused that.
I lied.
They're back for a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup Finals, the Edmonton Oilers. Watch as they meet the Flyers again Thursday night at 7:30 from the Spectrum. Gretzky, coffee, and fewer battle props, Howe and Lindbergh. Again, exclusively here on Prism.
Final score, the Flyers defeat the Chicago Blackhawks 6-2 tonight. And our star of the game, who had an outstanding game and 2 goals and almost got the hat trick, Mark Howe. And it's odd seeing you up on the wing there trying to get that 3rd goal.
Yeah, I used to be used to it when I was younger, but I don't know, Mike kept throwing me out there. I turned around and told him, I said, I've scored a hat trick in the NHL before. I said I could use the bench time. No, but it's, I don't know, things were going good for me, especially in the 3rd period. I know I missed a couple checks in our end earlier on in the game and a couple of one-on-ones. I played the puck, and maybe I wasn't concentrating as good as I should, and I just kept trying to concentrate a little better, and things came along, and plus Chicago let up a little bit once they get down, and it makes it easier when the forwards of the other team aren't finishing their checks, and that allows the defenseman to get back in the play.
It appeared, watching the game, that this was the toughest game mentally for the whole team to play. It just didn't seem like you could get anything going. Everybody seemed to be one half a stride behind for at least a period.
Yeah, I think first period, I think everybody was kind of going just a little different way a little bit. Second period, I think Ronnie Sutter got a real big goal for us when he stole the puck off Bannerman, put it in, and that kind of changed the tide of the game, I think. And after that, I think for 15 minutes, we played a real good second period. The last 5, Pelle made 3 or 4 big saves for us, and we just had a little mental lapse. And, you know, we're fortunate the last couple of games. We've had a couple bad periods, and the goaltenders have kept us in the game.
Well, your 2 goals tonight, Gene Hart says it's the first time you've scored 2 goals at the Spectrum as a Flyer.
I don't know. It's, I don't know, goals haven't been coming so far this year. I've hit the post, I think, 3 or 4 times, but I don't think I've been playing that well the last 4 or 5 games. I think I've been doing a good job defensively, but I like to contribute in the offense, too. And
here's the first one on that nice move through the middle.
Ronnie Sutter made a great play here. He just left the puck for me. I wanted to shoot, and unfortunately, I lost the puck and made it deep. No, I wanted to shoot, but Bannerman come out and cut down the angle. I didn't have much to shoot at, and we had a highlight film, and he tends to go down right away, so I just tried to make a quick move and get the puck up in the air. On the second goal here, Ronnie Sutter, as you know, is always good on the draws. Lindsey Carson made a great play, tipped the puck back, and then he took the forward who was coming to check me, and Ronnie Sutter was still standing in front of the net enough to screen the goalie, and I saw about a foot and hitting a foot and